You look up at the night sky and see a tapestry of light, a silent promise of a crowded, vibrant reality just beyond your reach. It is the ultimate human intuition, that because we can see the stars, we are somehow connected to them. We perceive the universe as a vast open gallery, a space where information flows freely and every shimmering point of light is a destination waiting for a traveler. We treat the speed of light as a cosmic speed limit, a record-breaking velocity that represents the pinnacle of motion. We tell ourselves that space is merely the distance between things, a passive stage upon which the drama of existence unfolds. But as you step beyond the universe of your own assumptions, you begin to realize that this perception is a comforting lie, a thin veil draped over a reality that is far more fractured and lonely than our minds were ever designed to handle. If you find yourself drawn to these shadows of the unknown, perhaps you should remain here within this frequency of thought and subscribe to Beyond the Universe, for what we are about to uncover cannot be unseen. To understand the true nature of our isolation, we must first dismantle the illusion of light. We have been taught to see light as a messenger, the fastest thing in existence, a bridge across the dark. But when you apply the scale of the cosmos to this messenger, the bridge begins to crumble. At the planetary scale, light feels instantaneous. When you flip a switch, the room is flooded. When we look at the moon, we see it as it was only a second ago. This creates a false sense of synchronicity, a feeling that the now we experience on Earth is a universal now. But as we move outward, this synchronicity begins to fracture. The sun is 8 minutes away. If it were to vanish this very moment, we would continue to orbit a ghost, warmed by the radiation of a corpse, for nearly 10 minutes. We are already living in the past, tethered to events that have already concluded. The problem is that we view this as a delay, a mere technicality of physics. What we fail to realize is that this delay is actually a structural barrier. Consider the reach of your own voice. Within the atmosphere of Earth, sound travels at a pace that allows for conversation. You speak and another hears you almost instantly. The exchange is fluid, the connection is real. But space has no atmosphere. It has no medium for sound. It only has the vacuum and the light. On the scale of our solar system, the conversation between planets becomes a series of disjointed monologues. A signal sent to the outer reaches of our neighborhood takes hours to arrive. By the time the reply returns, the world that sent the initial message has already changed. The now has drifted. This is the first crack in the glass. We begin to see that light is not a bridge, but a tether that is being stretched to its breaking point. It is not fast. In the context of the distances it must traverse, light is agonizingly, terrifyingly slow. It is a crawl across an infinite desert. As we push our gaze toward the interstellar scale, the slowness of light transforms from a delay into a cage. The nearest star system is 4 light-years away. 4 years for a single hello to arrive. 8 years for a response. Think about the rhythm of human life. In 8 years, children grow, empires shift, and the person who sent the message may no longer be the person who receives the answer. We are no longer talking about a delay in communication. We are talking about the erosion of causality. On an interstellar scale, there is no such thing as a shared present. Every star you see is a tombstone, a flickering image of a past that may no longer exist. You are not looking at a map of the universe. You are looking at a cemetery of light. The deeper you look, the further back in time you travel, until the very act of observation becomes a form of archaeology. But the real problem begins when we realize that this archaeology is not a choice, but a fundamental law of our existence. We are trapped in a bubble of time, isolated by the very speed that we once thought would set us free. This is the contradiction that begins to haunt the mind. The universe is visible, yet it is unreachable. It is present in our eyes, yet it is absent in our reality. We see the distant galaxies, swirling with the potential for billions of lives, yet we are separated from them by a gulf of time so vast that any meaningful interaction is physically impossible. The light that reaches us from the far side of the Milky Way has been traveling for 100,000 years. It left its source when our ancestors were first carving stone tools. To look at the galaxy is to realize that we are seeing a ghost of a ghost. This leads to something more disturbing, the realization that the universe is not just large, but fundamentally disconnected. We like to imagine a galactic community, a network of civilizations exchanging ideas and technology, but the math of the cosmos forbids it. A civilization on the other side of the galaxy could rise, flourish for 10,000 years and collapse into dust, and we would not even see the first spark of their birth for another 90,000 years. They would be gone before we even knew they existed. Our stories of first contact and cosmic diplomacy are fantasies that ignore the crushing reality of the light-speed barrier. We are not part of a larger whole. We are islands in an ocean that is too wide to cross, speaking in whispers that will only be heard by the dead. And this changes everything about how we perceive the silence of the universe. We often wonder why we haven't heard from anyone else, the famous paradox of the empty sky. We assume that if life were common, the airwaves would be thick with the chatter of a billion worlds. But when you understand the slowness of light, the silence takes on a darker meaning. It isn't that no one is speaking. It's that the signals are dying in the dark. A broadcast from a distant star system loses its strength as it spreads across the void, becoming indistinguishable from the background hiss of the Big Bang. Even if it survived the journey, it would arrive at a world that has forgotten why it was listening. The silence isn't a lack of life. It's the sound of distance winning. It's the sound of the universe's immune system keeping its different parts from ever infecting one another. What makes this terrifying is the suspicion that this isolation is not an accident of geography, but a structural feature of reality. The laws of physics seem designed to prevent the universe from ever becoming a coherent entity. Gravity pulls things together, but the expansion of space pushes them apart. Light moves at a constant speed, but the distances are so great that the light effectively stands still. It is as if the universe is a series of rooms, each with a one-way window looking into the next, but with the doors locked from the outside. We can watch the drama of the cosmos unfold, but we can never participate. We are the ultimate voyeurs, doomed to observe a reality we can never touch. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the scale of the cosmic voids. Between the clusters of galaxies lie vast regions of nothingness, millions of light years across, where there is not a single star, not a single atom of gas. These are the true deserts of the universe. If you were positioned in the center of one of these voids, the sky would be pitch black. No stars, no light, nothing but the infinite dark. In such a place, the concept of the universe would be impossible to conceive. You would be truly alone, a single point of consciousness in a sea of non-existence. And yet, on a cosmological scale, we are not much different. Our own local group of galaxies is its own kind of void, a small pocket of matter surrounded by an encroaching emptiness. The expansion of the universe is the final crushing blow to our hopes for connection. It is not just that the galaxies are far away, it's that they are moving away from us and from each other at an accelerating rate. The space between us is stretching. This isn't like objects moving through a room, it's the room itself getting bigger. And as the room grows, the light trying to cross it has a harder and harder time reaching its destination. Eventually, the galaxies will be moving away from us faster than light can travel toward us. One by one, the distant lights will wink out, not because the stars have died, but because their light can no longer bridge the gap. The universe is literally tearing itself apart, isolating every cluster of matter into its own private darkening horizon. This is the revelation that begins to destroy our human intuition. We think of the universe as a permanent structure, a house we live in, but it's more like a dispersing cloud of smoke. The things we see today are the last remnants of a time when the universe was still close enough to be perceived. We are living in a brief window of cosmic history where the sky is still full of stars. In the far future, any inhabitants of our galaxy will look out into a void so absolute that they will conclude the Milky Way is the only thing that has ever existed. They will have no record of other galaxies, no evidence of the Big Bang, no way to know that the universe was once a vibrant, interconnected web. Their reality will be a solitary island in an infinite, timeless dark. But it gets worse. As the expansion continues, even the stars within our own galaxy will eventually burn out. Entropy, the slow heat death of the universe, is the ultimate deadline. Every star is a battery that is slowly draining. Every galaxy is a fire that is running out of fuel. The universe is moving from a state of hot, dense complexity to a state of cold, empty simplicity. The silence we hear now is just a prelude to the absolute silence of the future, where not even the vibration of a single atom will disturb the stillness. We are witnessing the slow-motion sunset of existence, and there is no morning to follow. This leads us to an unsettling reframe of our place in the cosmos. We often talk about the search for meaning in a vast universe. We look for a sign that we matter, that we are part of some grand design. But the physics of isolation suggest a different conclusion. Perhaps the meaning of the universe is not found in the connections between things, but in the barriers that separate them. Perhaps the universe is not a singular entity, but a collection of failed experiments, each isolated by the laws of light and space so that they can never interfere with one another. We are not members of a cosmic choir. We are prisoners in solitary confinement, shouting into a wall that absorbs every sound. What makes this realization so heavy is the sense of helplessness that accompanies it. We have spent centuries developing the technology to see further and further into the dark, thinking that sight was the same as reach. We have built telescopes that can see the dawn of time, and we felt powerful for doing so. But now we see that our vision is a curse. It shows us everything we can never have. It shows us billions of worlds we can never visit, billions of histories we can never know, and a future of absolute loneliness that we can never escape. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize that it is a mechanism of exclusion. As you sit in the quiet of your own room, consider the light hitting your eyes right now. It is a tiny fraction of the energy produced by a star millions of miles away. It is a fragile, ancient thing that has survived a journey through the void just to tell you that something else exists. But it cannot tell you what that thing is like now. It cannot tell you if that thing is still there. It can only give you a memory. And that is the true nature of our existence. We are living in a world of memories, surrounded by the ghosts of a universe that is moving away from us at the speed of thought. The silence of the cosmos is not an absence of sound. It is the presence of an insurmountable wall. The scale of this realization begins to dwarf the human ego in a way that is profoundly unsettling. We are used to being the protagonists of our own stories. We believe that our thoughts, our struggles, and our triumphs have a weight that transcends our physical bodies. But in the face of cosmic isolation, that weight evaporates. What is a human life in a universe where light itself is too slow to matter? What is a civilization in a reality where the very space between stars is a graveyard for intent? We are a flicker of bioluminescence in a trench that is deeper than we can imagine. Our entire history, from the first fire to the last digital signal, is a sub-microscopic event that will never be noticed by the rest of reality. This is the existential tension that defines the modern era. We are the first generation of humans to truly understand how alone we are. Our ancestors looked at the stars and saw gods, or ancestors, or a destiny. They felt the gaze of the heavens upon them. We look at the stars and see physics. We see the cold, indifferent math of expansion and decay. We see a universe that is not watching us, not because it is cruel, but because it is incapable of seeing us. The light of our world hasn't even reached the nearest galaxy yet. To the rest of the universe, the Earth is still a silent, lifeless rock, or perhaps it hasn't even been formed yet. We are shouting into a canyon that is so wide the echo will take forever to return, and by then, there will be no one left to hear it. And this brings us to a more disturbing possibility. What if the universe is not just empty, but unreachable by design? What if the fine-tuning of the constants of nature, the speed of light, the strength of gravity, the rate of expansion, was set specifically to ensure that complexity remains localized? If galaxies could easily interact, the resulting chaos might prevent the long-term stability needed for life to evolve. Isolation might be the price we pay for existence. To be alive is to be alone. To be complex is to be fragmented. The very conditions that allowed us to arise are the same conditions that ensure we will never find anyone else. The universe is a system of beautiful, self-contained bubbles, and the moment a bubble breaks, it ceases to be. But the real problem begins when we consider the psychological impact of this truth. Humans are social creatures. We find meaning through connection, through the exchange of energy and information. Our entire biology is geared toward seeking out the other. When we apply this biological drive to the cosmic scale, we are met with a rejection so absolute it feels like a physical blow. The universe is not just silent. It is unresponsive. It is a mirror that shows us only our own loneliness. This is the cosmic dread that philosophers have spoken of, the realization that the scale of reality is so vast and the barriers so thick that human existence is fundamentally meaningless in any external sense. Yet we continue to look. We continue to build larger eyes and more sensitive ears, hoping that if we just look a little deeper or listen a little longer, the wall will crack. We are like a child in a dark room, calling out for a parent who isn't there, convinced that the silence is just a game. But the deeper we look, the more the wall solidifies. Each new discovery in cosmology serves to reinforce the same unsettling theme. The universe is a machine for creating distance. Every galaxy we map, every void we measure, and every light year we calculate is a new brick in the wall of our prison. The sensation of reality becoming more unsettling as we look deeper is not a bug of the human mind. It is a feature of the universe itself. Our intuition is built for the scale of a savanna, for distances that can be walked and times that can be remembered. When we force that intuition to confront the cosmological, it breaks. We cannot visualize a light year. We cannot comprehend a billion years. We can only feel the shadow they cast over our lives. It is a shadow of insignificance, of a transience so extreme it borders on non-existence. We are a brief interruption in a darkness that has no end, and so we return to the light. We see it dancing on the waves, or reflecting in the eyes of someone we love, and we feel a sense of warmth and presence. But now that warmth is tinged with a cold realization. That light is a lie. It is a local illusion, a temporary trick of physics that masks the true nature of the cosmos. Outside of our tiny, sun-drenched corner of space, the light is a failing, gasping thing, struggling against an expansion it can never beat. The universe is not a bright place with pockets of dark. It is a dark place with dying flickers of light, and those flickers are moving away from each other faster and faster, until the dark is all that remains. The real problem begins when you realize that even your own body is a collection of these cosmic remnants. The atoms in your hand were forged in the hearts of stars that died billions of years ago. You are a walking piece of the universe's past, a temporary configuration of matter that has been isolated from its source by time and space. You are a product of the very isolation you fear. If those stars hadn't died, if that matter hadn't been flung out into the void, you wouldn't exist. Our existence is a byproduct of fragmentation. We are the debris of a cosmic explosion, scattered so thinly that we can never be whole again. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that our consciousness itself is a form of isolation. We are each locked inside our own skulls, perceiving a world through a narrow set of senses, just as our planet is locked inside its solar system. Our inability to truly know the mind of another person is a fractal reflection of our inability to know the rest of the universe. The barriers are everywhere, at the atomic scale, the human scale, and the cosmic scale. We are a universe of islands, and the space between us is the only thing that is truly infinite. As we move from the interstellar to the galactic scale, the sense of displacement grows. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is a vast city of 400 billion stars. To us, it feels like a monolith, a permanent home. But in the context of the larger universe, it is a speck, a single grain of sand on an endless beach. And just as we are isolated from other stars, our galaxy is isolated from other galaxies. The local group is our neighborhood, but it is a neighborhood where the houses are miles apart and the neighbors never come outside. Beyond the local group, the expansion of the universe is already moving galaxies away from us at speeds that defy imagination. We are watching the exit of everything that is not us. What makes this terrifying is the realization that we are living in the golden age of astronomy. We are living at the only time in the history of the universe when the evidence of its origins is still visible. In a few 100 billion years, the expansion will have moved all other galaxies beyond our horizon. The cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, will have stretched so far that it will be undetectable. Any future astronomers will see a sky that is completely empty, save for the stars of their own merged galaxy. They will live in a universe that appears to be static and eternal, with no beginning and no end. They will be trapped in a lie, and they will never have the tools to discover the truth. Our current knowledge is a fleeting privilege, a momentary glimpse of a reality that is rapidly erasing itself. This changes everything about how we value information. If truth is a perishable commodity, then our current understanding of the universe is a rare and precious thing, but it is also a source of existential tension. We know the truth, and the truth is that we are being deleted. We are watching the blueprints of reality being shredded in real time. The revelation of modern cosmology is not one of progress, but one of loss. We are learning more and more about a universe that we can do less and less about. We are becoming experts in the anatomy of a disappearing act, but reality becomes even stranger when we consider the nature of causality in a disconnected universe. If two events are separated by a distance greater than light can travel in the time between them, they can never influence each other. They are causally disconnected. In a rapidly expanding universe, more and more of the cosmos is becoming causally disconnected from us. This means that there are entire realms of existence, vast swaths of space and time, that have zero impact on our reality. They might as well be in a different universe. They are not part of our everything. We are living in a shrinking bubble of causality, a diminishing sphere of influence in a reality that is mostly elsewhere. And this leads to something more disturbing, the death of connection as a concept. If the universe is structurally disconnected, then the very idea of connection is a local anomaly. It is something that only exists on small scales, like between people, or between a planet and its moon. On the scale that actually matters, the scale of the universe itself, There is no connection. There is only separation. The fundamental state of the universe is not unity, but fragmentation. We are the oddities for thinking that things should be linked. The void is the rule. The star is the exception. The silence is the truth. The word is the distraction. The escalation of this thought process is meant to break your intuition, to make you feel the weight of the space between things. Think about a single atom. It is mostly empty space. Think about a solar system. It is mostly empty space. Think about a galaxy. It is mostly empty space. Now think about the universe. It is an emptiness so profound that matter is nothing more than a rounding error. We are a trace amount of contamination in a perfect vacuum. Our obsession with stuff, with planets and stars and people, is a bias of our own scale. If you were the size of the universe, you wouldn't even notice the galaxies. You would only see the dark energy, the invisible force that is pushing everything away. You would see a universe that is defined not by what it contains, but by what it lacks. The deeper we descend into this realization, the more the very fabric of our reality begins to feel like a veil designed to deceive. We have spoken of the slowness of light and the expansion of the void, but the real problem begins when we consider the nature of the information itself. In our daily lives, we assume that when we see something, we are participating in a shared moment with the object of our gaze. But as we move into the cosmological scale, observation is transformed into a form of cosmic mourning. When we look at a distant quasar, we are witnessing the death throes of a giant that fell billions of years before our sun was even a cloud of dust. We are receiving a letter from a sender who has been dead for eons. The universe is not a collection of things, it is a collection of echoes. And what makes this terrifying is the realization that we, too, are becoming an echo. Every photon reflecting off your skin, every radio wave leaking from our satellites is beginning a journey into a dark that will eventually outpace it. We are broadcasting into a future that will be too wide to receive us. This leads to something more disturbing. The possibility that the universe is not merely empty, but structurally hostile to the concept of memory. We think of history as something that is preserved, but on a universal scale, history is being actively erased. Because space is stretching, the light from the past is being pulled and thinned. It is being redshifted, its energy drained, until it fades into a frequency so low it carries no information at all. This is the death of the record. The universe is a book where the pages turn and then immediately dissolve into ash. By the time we learn to read a page, the one before it is gone, and the one after it is moving away so fast we can never catch it. We are trapped in a perpetual now that has no anchor in the before or the after. We are a civilization of amnesiacs, trying to build a map of a territory that is vanishing as we chart it. Consider the scale of the Great Attractor, a mysterious gravitational anomaly pulling our entire corner of the universe toward an unknown point in the dark. We see the motion, we feel the tug, but we cannot see what is pulling us because the gas and dust of our own galaxy's disk block the view. This is a recurring philosophical motif of our existence. We are moved by forces we cannot see, toward a destination we cannot understand, across a distance we can never bridge. Even our movement through space is a form of isolation. We are part of a cosmic flow, but it is a flow toward a singular point of density that will eventually swallow everything we know. The tragedy of the universe is that even when things are brought together by gravity, they are only brought together to be destroyed. Connection is either impossible due to distance or fatal due to density. There is no middle ground. There is no gentle embrace in the cosmos, and this changes everything about our understanding of dark matter. We perceive it as a scientific mystery, a missing piece of the puzzle, but reframe it through the lens of existential dread. Dark matter is the invisible scaffolding of our prison. It is a mass we cannot touch, a substance we cannot see, yet it dictates the rotation of our stars and the structure of our galaxies. We are like prisoners who can feel the weight of the bars, but can never see the metal. We are held in place by a ghost, a dominant force in the universe that refuses to interact with the light that gives us our sense of reality. It is as if we are living in a house where 85% of the structure is made of shadows that we can never illuminate. We are the minority. We are the exception. The real universe is dark, silent, and indifferent to the flickers of matter we call home. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the concept of the cosmic horizon. Just as there is a limit to how far you can see on Earth due to the curvature of the planet, there is a limit to how far we can see in the universe due to the age of light and the expansion of space. This is not a technical limit. It is a fundamental boundary of nature. Beyond this horizon there are things, stars, galaxies, perhaps entire civilizations, that are moving away from us faster than light. They are gone, not just far away, but gone from our reality. They can never influence us, and we can never influence them. They have crossed the threshold of the unreachable, and every second that passes, more of the universe is crossing that line. We are like a person standing on a shrinking ice floe in the middle of a dark ocean, watching the pieces of our world break off and drift into the mist, never to be seen again. This is the escalation that breaks the human spirit, the realization that the universe is becoming less real every day. If reality is defined by what we can interact with, then our reality is shrinking. We are losing the cosmos. We talk about expanding our horizons as a metaphor for growth, but in the universe, the horizon is the thing that is closing in. We are being squeezed into a smaller and smaller bubble of causality. What makes this terrifying is the silence that follows each loss. There is no sound of a galaxy crossing the horizon. There is no flash of light to signal that a billion stars have just become forever unreachable. There is only the steady, cold subtraction of existence. The sky doesn't look different to the naked eye, but the math tells a story of a slow-motion collapse into total isolation. What if the universe is not a singular theater, but a series of disconnected rooms? Imagine a hallway with infinite doors, and as you walk down it, the doors behind you lock and the hallway ahead of you stretches. You can see the people in the other rooms through the glass, but you can never open the doors. You can press your hands against the surface, you can scream until your lungs fail, but the glass is absolute. This is the impossibility of real-time interaction on a cosmic scale. We are looking at a universe that is structurally designed to be a museum of things we can never touch. Observation is not a bridge, it is a barrier. It reminds us of what we are denied. Every beautiful image from a space telescope is a reminder of a place we can never go, a time we can never inhabit, and a connection we can never forge. And this leads to something more disturbing, the psychological meaning of the great silence. We have always assumed that the silence of the stars is a question. Where is everybody? But what if the silence is the answer? What if the universe is silent because it has already finished? In a reality where light is too slow and space is too wide, every civilization is effectively the only one. Even if the galaxy is teeming with life, the physics of isolation ensure that each one lives and dies in a vacuum of information. The silence isn't an empty room. It's a room full of people who are all wearing noise-canceling headphones. They are all shouting, but the air between them has been removed. The silence is the sound of the universe's ultimate victory over communication. But reality becomes even stranger when you think about the fate of light itself. Photons are the messengers of the universe, but they are also victims of its expansion. As a photon travels across the void, the space it occupies stretches, and the photon's wavelength stretches with it. It loses energy. It tires. Eventually, it becomes so stretched that it has no energy left to trigger a detector or an eye. It becomes a ghost, a ripple in the fabric of nothingness that carries no message. This is the death of the messenger. The universe is not just moving things away from us. It is actively exhausting the means by which we see them. We are watching the light of the world grow dim and red and tired. We are the witnesses to a cosmic exhaustion. This changes everything about how we perceive our own history. We are a species that thrives on the idea of a legacy. We build monuments. We write books. We launch golden records into the interstellar dark, all in the hope that someone, somewhere, will know we were here. But the physics of the universe suggests that all legacies are temporary and localized. A signal sent into the void is not a bridge to the future. It is a message in a bottle thrown into a whirlpool. It will be stretched, diluted, and eventually erased by the expansion of the void. There is no eternal record in a universe governed by entropy and expansion. Even the light of our own sun will eventually be redshifted into oblivion, leaving no trace that a solar system, or a human race, ever existed. What makes this terrifying is the realization that this isn't a future problem. It is happening now. Every moment you spend breathing, the distant galaxies are sliding further away. The gaps are widening. The silence is deepening. We feel a sense of stability because our lives are so short. But that stability is a trick of our perception. We are like a mayfly borne on a leaf that is floating toward a waterfall, marveling at how still the water seems. The now that we cherish is a microscopic sliver of time in a universe that is defined by a frantic, accelerating departure. We are not standing still. We are being pulled apart by the very fabric of the world we inhabit. Consider the Buddha's void, a region of space so empty that if the Milky Way were in its center, we wouldn't have discovered other galaxies until the 1960s. We look at such places and think of them as anomalies, as holes in the universe. But as the expansion continues, the entire universe is becoming a Biota's void. The emptiness is not an exception, it is the destination. We are living in a brief, anomalous moment where things are still close enough to be seen. We are the lucky ones who get to see the stars before they vanish. But that luck is shadowed by the knowledge that we are watching a dying light. Our curiosity is really just a form of voyeurism at a cosmic funeral. And again, the same truth returns. The universe is not a place, but a process of disconnection. We think of space as the container, but space is the weapon. It is the thing that divides. It is the thing that ensures a star can never truly know another star. We perceive the universe as a unified field because we see the light, but the light is a liar. It shows us a unity that does not exist. It shows us a web of galaxies that are actually moving away from each other at incredible speeds. The web is already broken. We are just looking at the snapshots of the moment before the threads snapped. We are living in the afterimage of a coherent reality. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the unreachable rather than the empty. We often fear that we are alone in the universe, that there is no one else out there. But what if the truth is worse? What if there are millions of other civilizations, each one as vibrant and complex as our own, but they are all positioned just beyond our horizon? What if the universe is crowded, but we are all in soundproof cells? To be alone is one thing. To be isolated in a crowd is another. To know that life exists, but to also know that it is fundamentally, mathematically impossible to ever reach it, is a form of torture that the human mind is not equipped to handle. It turns the stars from beacons of hope into the lights of a prison camp. And this leads to something more disturbing: the possibility that the universe is structurally designed to prevent godlike civilizations from forming. If a civilization could span an entire galaxy, it might become a force that could challenge the laws of physics. But the slowness of light acts as a cosmic speed governor. It ensures that no civilization can ever be larger than a single star system without fragmenting into disconnected pieces. Communication delays prevent the formation of a unified government, a unified culture, or a unified purpose. The universe is a machine that breaks large things into small things. It is an anti-empire device. It ensures that every spark of intelligence remains a local, temporary phenomenon that can never threaten the cold, dark order of the whole. This reframe transforms our perception of progress. We see technology as a way to conquer distance, but we are fighting a losing battle against a fundamental law. We build faster rockets, but we can never go faster than light. We build better telescopes, but we can only see the past. We are trying to swim upstream in a river that is moving at the speed of light in the opposite direction. Our advancement is a desperate scramble to stay in place. What makes this unsettling is the realization that no matter how advanced we become, we will always be small. We will always be local. We will always be alone. The universe is not a frontier to be conquered. It is a wall that can never be climbed. Think about the psychological meaning of the Great Wall of Galaxies. We see these structures and think of them as the largest things in existence, but they are being pulled apart by dark energy. The largest structures in the universe are also the most fragile. They are being dismantled by the vacuum itself. This is the ultimate subversion of human intuition, that the biggest things are the first to go. The universe is not building towards something. It is unmaking itself. It is a house that is being dismantled from the rafters down. We are living in the basement, wondering why the ceiling is getting higher and the lights are getting dimmer. But it gets worse. In some possible futures, if the expansion grows strong enough, even the structures held together by gravity may not remain safe forever. The Big Rip hypothesis suggests a future where the expansion becomes so violent that it overcomes gravity, then electromagnetism, and finally the strong nuclear force. The universe won't just be empty, it will be shredded. Every atom will be pulled apart. Every point in space will be isolated from every other point. This is the logical conclusion of a disconnected universe, a state where connection is not just impossible, but a violation of the laws of physics. The universe will become a collection of infinitely many, infinitely small, and infinitely isolated points of nothingness. What makes this terrifying is the sensation that we can feel this pull already. It is the existential tension of knowing that we are part of something that is fundamentally transient. We are made of the very things that the universe is trying to get rid of. We are matter, an anomaly in a reality that prefers the vacuum. We are information, a signal in a reality that prefers noise. We are life, a connection in a reality that prefers isolation. Our very existence is a defiance of the universe's most basic tendencies, and like all defiances, It is temporary. The universe has more time than we do. It has more space than we do. It has the ultimate patience of the dark. This leads to something more disturbing. The idea that our search for extraterrestrial intelligence is actually a search for a mirror. We want to find someone else because we are terrified of the silence within ourselves. We want the universe to be a conversation because we cannot bear the thought of a monologue. But when we look at the physics, we see that the monologue is the only thing that is real. We are talking to ourselves and we are using the stars as a backdrop. The revelation is that the universe doesn't have a voice. It only has a distance, and that distance is growing. Consider the heat death once more. It is often described as a state of equilibrium, a peaceful end. But reframe it. Heat death is the final, absolute victory of isolation. It is the moment when every particle in the universe is so far away from every other particle that no energy can ever be exchanged. It is a universe of total, eternal solitude. There will be no light because there will be no stars. There will be no thought because there will be no complexity. There will only be the void, stretched so thin that the concept of existence loses its meaning. This is the final philosophical inversion. The universe doesn't end with a bang or a whimper, but with the perfection of the wall. And this leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that we are already in the heat death of something larger. What if our entire universe is just a single, isolated particle in a much larger reality? A reality that has already expanded so far that we can never see the other particles. What if the isolation we feel is just a fractal reflection of a much larger abandonment? The scale of the cosmos suggests that there is always something larger, and in a universe of expansion, that larger thing is always more isolated. We are nested in layers of loneliness, each one more absolute than the last. What makes this unsettling is the way it transforms our familiar ideas into something cold. Home is no longer a planet. It is a temporary bubble that is about to burst. Family is no longer a bond. It is a brief coincidence of matter. Discovery is no longer an achievement. It is a notification of what we have already lost. The deeper we look, the more the familiar becomes alien. We are foreigners in our own reality, trying to find a sense of belonging in a system that is designed to eject us. The universe is not our home. It is a transit station where the last train left billions of years ago, and the lights are starting to flicker. Think about the sensory experience of this isolation. If you could stand in the middle of the interstellar void, the silence would be so loud it would feel like a weight on your chest. You would see the stars, but they would feel like holes in the dark rather than points of light. You would feel the cold not as a temperature, but as an absence of being. This is the psychological dread of the scale of space. It is a scale that our minds can only process as a form of non-existence. To be in space is to be nowhere. To be between the stars is to be forgotten by physics. But reality becomes even stranger when you realize that even the past is not a place we can return to. The light that reaches us from distant stars is not an invitation backward. It is only evidence that something once existed, somewhere, long before this moment. The past can be seen, but never touched. It can arrive as light, but never become present again. The universe is not just moving forward, it is moving away. You can't go home again, not because the house is gone, but because the space where the house stood has been stretched into a different reality. The past is not a destination, it is a disappearing point on the horizon. And again, the same truth returns. The death of connection is the ultimate destiny of all things. We see it in the way cultures drift apart, in the way languages change, and in the way people grow old and lose their ties to the world. These are just small-scale versions of the cosmic reality. The universe is a machine that manufactures distance. It takes everything that is close and pulls it apart. It takes everything that is connected and breaks the bond. We are living in a moment of peak connectivity, a brief spark of light before the dark takes over. We should not be surprised by the silence of the stars. We should be surprised that we can hear anything at all. This is the existential consequence of the speed of light. It is the ultimate censorship. It limits what we can know, what we can see, and what we can be. It is a boundary that no amount of intelligence or technology can ever cross. We are being censored by the universe itself. We are being told that we are allowed to know this much and no more. We are allowed to see this far and no further. We are allowed to live for this long and no longer. The universe is a gated community, and we are on the outside, looking through the bars at a party that ended a billion years ago. What makes this terrifying is the realization that the universe is not broken. It is working exactly as intended. The isolation, the silence, the slowness of light, the expansion, these are not problems to be solved. They are the fundamental settings of the machine. We are the ones who are out of sync. We are the ones who want connection in a reality of separation. We are the ones who want meaning in a reality of entropy. We are the anomalies. The universe is not a mystery to be solved, it is a reality to be endured. And so, the existential descent continues. We have moved from the solar system to the galaxies, and from the galaxies to the voids. We have seen how light is a ghost and space is a wall. We have seen how the future is an erasure and the past is a memory. But the real problem begins when we look at the very now we inhabit. If the universe is disconnected on a cosmic scale, what does that say about the connections we feel here on this tiny rock? Are they real, or are they just another local illusion, a brief coincidence of matter that feels like something more? The deeper you look, the more the floor drops away. You realize that you are not standing on solid ground. You are floating in an infinite, expanding dark, tethered to a dying star by a thread of light that is being stretched to its breaking point. You are a passenger on a ship that is falling apart, in an ocean that has no shore. And the most unsettling part of it all is that the ship is silent. There is no alarm. There is no shouting. There is only the steady, quiet, and absolute realization that you are alone, and the universe is moving away. This silent departure is the most pervasive force in your existence, yet your biology is calibrated to ignore it. You feel the ground beneath your feet and assume it is a permanent foundation, but the reality is that the Earth is a lonely traveler, moving through a landscape that is being systematically dismantled. As we transition from the galactic scale to the truly cosmological, the very concept of place begins to dissolve. In a universe that is structurally disconnected, a place is merely a temporary intersection of matter that will never meet again. We are used to the idea of maps, of coordinates that stay fixed, but on the scale of the cosmos, the map is being shredded as it is being drawn. The points are moving away from each other so fast that the lines between them are snap-frozen in the past, representing a geography that no longer exists. This is the reframe that turns the universe into a graveyard of intentions. We are charting the positions of ghosts, but it goes deeper into the psychological fabric of our species. We find comfort in the idea of universal laws, believing that the physics governing a star billions of light-years away is the same as the physics governing our own sun. We see this as a form of kinship, a shared language of reality. But what makes this terrifying is the realization that this shared language only serves to describe our mutual isolation. The same laws that allow us to understand the light of a distant galaxy are the very laws that forbid us from ever touching it. It is as if we have been given the manual to a machine we are never allowed to operate. Our intelligence, our ability to decipher the code of the cosmos, is not a gateway to connection. It is the realization of the bars on the cage. We are the only creatures on this planet aware of the cosmic ceiling, and that awareness does not grant us more space. It only makes the room feel smaller. Consider the Hubble tension, the growing discrepancy in our measurements of how fast the universe is expanding. To a scientist, this is a puzzle of data. To the existential mind, it is a revelation that the universe is escaping us faster than we can even measure its flight. It is as if the cosmos is actively resisting our attempts to quantify its departure. The more we sharpen our instruments, the more the reality of expansion shifts and blurs, refusing to be pinned down. This is not just a failure of technology. It is a manifestation of the existential consequence of living in a fragmented reality. We are trying to measure a shadow that is being cast by a light that is already gone. The universe is not just moving, it is accelerating into a state of total incoherence. And this leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that dark energy is not just a force, but a property of the vacuum that acts as a cosmic solvent. It is dissolving the connections between clusters, then between galaxies, and eventually, it will dissolve the connections between the very thoughts that allow us to perceive it. We think of the vacuum as nothing, a passive emptiness, but the vacuum is the most aggressive thing in existence. It is the void that wants to be filled with itself. It is the absence of being that is actively consuming the presence of matter. Every cubic centimeter of space being created every second is a new unit of distance, a new barrier between you and the rest of reality. We are being drowned in a sea of more space, a flood of nothingness that no ark can survive. What makes this unsettling is the way it transforms the familiar idea of a home into a cell. We look at our planetary neighborhood, the moon, the sun, the planets, and we see a family. But this family is only together because of a temporary gravitational fluke. On the scale of the universe's life, our solar system is a brief meeting of strangers in a dark hallway. In time, the sun will expand and consume the inner planets, and then it will shrink into a white dwarf, leaving the outer planets to drift into the interstellar dark. The connection we feel to our home is a sentimentality that physics does not share. We are not a permanent feature of the landscape. We are a momentary thickening of the void, a brief ripple in the dark that is already smoothing itself out. This changes everything about how we perceive the cosmic web. We are taught to visualize the large-scale structure of the universe as a beautiful, glowing network of filaments where galaxies are like dewdrops on a spider's web. It is the ultimate image of connectivity. But the real problem begins when you realize that the web is not holding things together. It is a map of how they are being pulled apart. The filaments are thinning, the nodes are being isolated, the spider is gone, and the web is being torn by a wind we cannot see. To look at the cosmic web is to see a structure in the midst of a slow-motion explosion. It is the skeletal remains of a universe that was once much closer, much warmer, and much more alive. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the possibility of unreachability in terms of causality. In the early universe, everything was close enough to talk to everything else. The entire cosmos was a single, hot, interconnected point. But since that moment, the history of the universe has been a history of divorce. Parts of the sky that were once neighbors are now so far apart that they have effectively exited each other's existence. They occupy different causal patches. This means that the universe is not one story. It is a trillion different stories that can never be read by the same person. We are living in a fragment of a fragment, a tiny splinter of reality that has been cast off from the whole. The universal truth we seek does not exist because the universe itself is no longer a universe. It is a multiverse of isolated horizons, each one a dead end. What makes this terrifying is the realization that each revelation makes the previous one worse. We started with the slowness of light, a mere delay. Then we saw it as a cage. Then we saw expansion as the thief of the future. Now we see that the universe is fundamentally broken into pieces that can never be made whole. The existential tension is not just about being alone in the dark. It is about the realization that the dark is the only thing that is truly universal. The dark is the only thing that connects the fragments, but it connects them only by separating them. It is a bridge made of distance. It is a presence made of absence. And again, the same idea returns. The universe is not empty because it lacks life. It is empty because it lacks togetherness. You could fill every cubic meter of space with a conscious being, and the universe would still be empty if they could never reach each other. Isolation is not a demographic problem. It is a physical one. It is a structural law that ensures that no matter how much stuff is in the universe, the space will always win. The volume of nothingness grows faster than the complexity of matter. The silence is not a lack of sound. It is the ultimate fate of all sound. Every word ever spoken is a vibration that is currently losing its energy to the expansion of the cosmos. Your voice is being stretched into a silent, frozen wave. And this leads to something more disturbing, the archaeology of observation as a form of cosmic cruelty. We look at the Andromeda galaxy and see it as it was 2.5 million years ago. We see a vibrant, swirling mass of light. But because of the slowness of light and the speed of expansion, we are looking at a version of Andromeda that no longer exists in that now. We are like a person looking at a photo of a loved one who has been dead for decades and trying to have a conversation with the paper. The universe is a hall of mirrors where every reflection is out of date. We are surrounded by images of things that are already different, already further away, already gone. The beauty of the night sky is a lie told by the past to comfort the present. Consider the great voids again, but this time, think of them as the true face of the universe. We live in a cluster, a dense spot, which is why we think density is normal. But if you look at the volume of the universe, the voids make up the vast majority of everything. This means that the normal state of a point in the universe is to be millions of light years away from the nearest atom. We are the outliers. We are the high-pressure anomalies in a reality that is fundamentally a vacuum. Our obsession with being is a bias of our local environment. To the universe, non-being is the standard. Isolation is the baseline. We are a temporary deviation from the law of nothingness. What makes this terrifying is the death of connection between civilizations that might actually exist. We often wonder if aliens are out there, but we never think about the psychological meaning of the silence from their perspective. If there is a civilization in a distant galaxy, they are looking at the Milky Way and seeing a version of us from the time of the dinosaurs. They see a planet of lizards and ferns. They have no way to know that we are here now, building telescopes and wondering about them. And by the time their light reaches us, light that shows them as they are now, we will likely be extinct. The universe ensures that even when two mirrors face each other, the light takes so long to bounce back that the mirrors have already shattered. We are ships passing in the night, but the night is billions of years long and the ships are moving in opposite directions. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the concept of communication becomes impossible. We think of radio waves as our best hope, but radio waves are just light. They are subject to the same redshift, the same stretching, the same exhaustion. A message sent with the intent of reaching across the stars is a message that is doomed to become noise. The expansion of the universe is a scrambler that ruins every code. It takes the precise rhythmic signal of an intelligent mind and smears it into the background radiation of the void. The universe is a sensor that doesn't just block the message, it dissolves the medium. It turns the word into static. This leads to the existential consequence of the impossibility of real-time interaction. We have no now with the rest of the universe. We have no shared reality. If the universe is disconnected by design, then reality is a purely local phenomenon. What happens on the other side of the galaxy doesn't just not matter. It literally does not exist for us in any physical sense. We are each trapped in our own private bubble of time and space, and the walls of that bubble are made of the speed of light. To realize this is to feel the existential tension of being a ghost in your own home. You can see the other rooms, but you are not in the same timeline as the people who inhabit them. You are a spectator of a reality that has already finished. But it gets worse. As we look at the galactic scale, we see the death of connection as a physical process. Galaxies are merging, colliding in a violent dance of gravity. You might think this is a form of connection, a way for things to finally come together. But these collisions are so sparse that not a single star will actually hit another star. The merger is just a mixing of ghosts. They pass through each other like smoke, their structures distorted, their orbits ruined. They come together only to find that even in the heart of a collision, they are still light years apart. Even when we are together in the cosmos, we are alone. Connectivity is an illusion of scale. Close up, it is just a different kind of distance. And this leads to something more disturbing. The fate of civilizations in a universe of entropy. We think of our species as a work in progress moving toward a higher state of being, but the universe is moving toward a state of lower energy. We are swimming against a tide that is getting stronger. Every calorie of energy we use to think, to build, to love, is a calorie that is being permanently removed from the usable pool of the universe. We are accelerating the end. We are a fever in a body that is trying to cool down. The philosophical dread is the realization that our very success, our growth, our intelligence, is a catalyst for the ultimate silence. We are the noise that the universe is trying to suppress. What makes this terrifying is that every larger scale makes human intuition collapse a little more. We thought a light year was large, then we saw the megaparsec, then we saw the size of the observable universe. But beyond the observable universe lies the unobservable universe, which may be infinite. In an infinite universe of expansion, the number of things that are forever unreachable is also infinite. We are a single grain of sand in a desert that is growing in every direction at once. The more we learn about the size of reality, the less we matter. We are being diluted by the scale of the void. We are a drop of ink in an ocean of clear water, and the ink is already starting to fade. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the possibility that the universe is unreachable rather than empty. This is the idea that returns again and again, each time heavier than before. We look for life and find nothing. We assume this means life is rare, but the physics of isolation suggests that life could be everywhere, and we would still find nothing. The emptiness we perceive is a result of the unreachability of everything else. The universe isn't a desert, it's a series of walled gardens, and the walls are higher than the sky. We are crying out for neighbors while living in a soundproof bunker. The silence of the cosmos is not a lack of life. It is the presence of a total, structural isolation. This changes everything about our discovery of the cosmos. We think we are discovering the universe, but we are actually just discovering the limits of our own cage. Every new telescope, every new equation, every new discovery is just a more precise measurement of the wall. We are learning the exact dimensions of our cell. We are becoming experts in the architecture of our own imprisonment. The revelation is not that we can see the stars, but that the stars are the only thing we will ever see. They are the decoration on the ceiling of our prison, meant to keep us occupied while the floor falls away, and then light itself begins to feel different. We think of light as a hero, the thing that fights the dark, but light is the very thing that reveals the distance. Without light, We wouldn't know how far away the stars are. We wouldn't know how alone we are. Light is the messenger of our isolation. It is the thing that brings the bad news. The dark doesn't tell us anything. It just is. But light speaks of a billion worlds we can never touch. It speaks of a history we can never join. Light is the source of our existential tension. It is the thing that makes the silence feel like a rejection. And this leads to something more disturbing, the death of connection as an emotional reality. As you contemplate these scales, you feel a thinning of your own ties to reality. The things that seemed important this morning, your job, your bills, your relationships, begin to feel like the play acting of a child on a sinking ship. How can you care about a now that is so fragile? How can you care about a here that is so isolated? The existential descent is a process of uncoupling your mind from the local and attaching it to the cosmic. But the cosmic is a void. To look too deep is to lose your grip on the human. To understand the universe is to become a stranger to yourself. What makes this terrifying is how each realization turns something familiar into a source of dread. Discovery becomes doubt. Curiosity becomes unease. Observation becomes archaeology. Communication becomes impossible. We are being led down a path where every signpost tells us to go back, but we cannot. We are driven by a curiosity that is ultimately self-destructive. We want to know the truth, but the truth is a weapon. The truth is that we are a localized accident in a reality of global disconnection. Consider the psychological meaning of the silence one more time. We think of silence as a waiting, a pause before something begins. But the silence of the cosmos is the silence of a finished work. It is the silence of a stone. It doesn't mean not yet. It means never again. The possibility that the universe is structurally disconnected by physics itself is the final philosophical inversion that we are approaching. It suggests that the disconnection is not a byproduct, but the goal. The universe was born to be apart. It was born to expand, to cool, and to separate until the very concept of between no longer has any meaning. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility of dark matter as a wall of ghosts. We cannot see it, but we feel its gravity. It surrounds us, holding our galaxy together, yet it refuses to speak to us through light. It is as if we are living in a crowded room, but 85% of the people are invisible and intangible, yet they are the ones moving the furniture. We are the guests in a house of shadows. We are the minority. The real universe is made of things that don't care about light, don't care about life, and don't care about connection. We are a thin layer of normal matter, a garnish on a dish made of something we can never comprehend. But reality becomes even stranger when you try to feel the scale of space, not just understand it. If you could fly through the void at the speed of light, you would still feel like you were standing still. The stars would not whip past you like trees on a highway. They would remain fixed, tiny pinpricks of light that don't seem to grow or change for decades. The scale of space is so vast that even the fastest possible speed feels like a crawl. To the universe, motion is a joke. Travel is a fantasy. You are born, you live, and you die, and the nearest star hasn't moved a fraction of an inch in your sky. You are a microscopic event in a static, frozen landscape. This changes everything about our fate as a civilization. We imagine ourselves spreading across the stars, building a galactic empire. But the slowness of light ensures that any such empire would be a collection of disconnected city-states, each one separated by years or decades of communication delay. It would be an empire of ghosts, where the ruler of one world would be dead by the time their decree reached the next. There is no such thing as unity across the stars. There is only fragmentation. We are destined to be a single planet species, not because we lack the will, but because the universe lacks the togetherness. What makes this terrifying is the way the end of the universe becomes almost physical when you imagine it closely enough. In the Big Rip, the space between your own atoms would begin to expand. You would feel yourself being pulled apart, not by a force, but by the vacuum itself. The space inside you would become larger than the forces holding you together. You would become a collection of isolated particles, each one moving away from the others at the speed of light. You would be the ultimate disconnected universe. You would be a microcosm of the end. The isolation would finally reach the level of your own being. And this leads to something more disturbing. Each revelation makes the previous one darker. First, we were alone on our planet. Then we were alone in our solar system. Then we were alone in our galaxy. Now, we are seeing that we are alone even within our own bodies. The universe is disconnected by design is not just a cosmological statement. It is a fundamental law of existence. Everything is falling apart. Everything is moving away. Everything is becoming a void. The silence is just the sound of the parts finally losing touch with the whole. Slowly, the realization begins to settle in. Reality may be isolating at its deepest level. It isn't that we are having trouble connecting. It's that connection is a violation of the universe's primary intent. The universe moves toward emptiness, toward cold, toward silence. We are the ones who are out of order. We are the ones who are broken. Our desire for more life, more light, more connection, is a rebellion against the physics of reality. And like all rebellions against the laws of nature, it is doomed to fail. The existential tension is the feeling of that failure beginning to take hold. As the realization reaches its deepest level, the death of connection begins to look like a total, absolute truth. There is no escape. There is no beyond. The universe is all there is, and the universe is a machine that manufactures distance. We are living in a brief moment of light before the inevitable silence takes over. We should look at the stars one last time, not as a source of hope, but as a reminder of what we are losing. They are the last lights of a city that is being abandoned. And as we watch, the lights are going out one by one, until there is nothing left but the dark, the cold, and the infinite, unreachable distance. The realization that the universe is actively shedding its connectivity is not merely a theoretical observation. It is a psychological transformation that rewrites the meaning of the word future. We have always viewed time as a canvas of potential, a space where complexity grows and civilizations ascend. But when you look through the lens of a structurally disconnected universe, time becomes the executioner of scale. Every million years that passes is not just a measure of duration, but a measure of loss. The cosmological scale is a process of thinning, a slow stretching of reality until the threads of causality become so fine they snap. You must realize that we are currently living in a dense, crowded era of the cosmos that will one day be regarded as a mythical age of impossible proximity. We are the witnesses of a cohesion that is physically temporary. But the real problem begins when we reconsider the nature of dark energy, not as a mysterious energy density, but as a relentless engine of exclusion. It acts as a pressure that exists within the very fabric of the vacuum, a constant, silent pushing that never tires. Unlike gravity, which requires mass to act, dark energy is inherent to space itself. This means that as space expands, there is more dark energy, which causes space to expand even faster. It is a self-reinforcing cycle of abandonment. What makes this terrifying is the inevitability of the cosmic horizon closing in. We are not just moving away from our neighbors, we are being quarantined by the vacuum. The universe is a landlord that is slowly boarding up the windows and locking the doors, leaving us in a room that feels increasingly like a tomb. This leads to a more disturbing reframe of the Great Silence. We often think of the silence as a lack of inhabitants, but consider the possibility that the silence is a physical symptom of the universe's slowness. If light is the maximum speed of information, and the universe is expanding, then the bandwidth of reality is constantly decreasing. A civilization could be trying to reach us with all the power of a dying star, but if the space between us is stretching faster than their signal can traverse it, that signal will never arrive. It doesn't matter how loud they scream. The medium of their voice is being destroyed as they speak. The silence isn't an absence of life. It is the triumph of the vacuum over the message. We are surrounded by a choir that has been muted by the physics of distance, and this changes everything about our understanding of civilization as a concept. We define ourselves by our ability to transcend our environment, to build networks that span continents and oceans, but we are reaching the hard limit of that growth. No civilization, no matter how advanced, can ever build a network that spans the expanding void. The universe is the ultimate anti-network. It is a system that penalizes scale. The larger you try to be, the more the expansion of space works to pull you apart. A galactic empire is a contradiction in terms. It is a collection of isolated islands that can never share a single moment of now. To dream of cosmic expansion is to dream of a fragmentation that will eventually lead to your own dissolution. What makes this unsettling is the existential consequence of the unreachable. We find ourselves staring at a sky that is a lie of perspective. We see a coherent dome of stars, but in reality, we are looking at a chaotic explosion in progress. The light that makes the sky look full is the very same light that tells us how far away everything is. It is as if we are trapped in a room with a 360-degree screen showing us a beautiful garden. But when we try to walk toward the flowers, we realize the room is infinite, and the images on the screen are millions of years old. The garden isn't there. It was never there for us. It was only there for the light. This leads to something more disturbing. the possibility that the silence of the cosmos is a reflection of the death of meaning that occurs at large scales. Meaning requires context, and context requires connection. If you are isolated from the rest of existence by a wall of physics, your actions have no context outside of your own tiny bubble. A star collapsing in a distant galaxy has no meaning for us because it can never touch us. Our entire history has no meaning for the rest of the universe because it can never reach it. The universe is not a grand narrative. It is a trillion isolated syllables that never form a word. We are a sound in a vacuum, a gesture in the dark, a meaning that is physically incapable of being shared. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the possibility of dark matter as the true architecture of the universe. We are made of baryonic matter, the glowing energetic stuff of stars and dust. But we are the minority. The universe is built on a foundation of dark matter that does not interact with light, does not emit heat, and does not care about our presence. We are like moss growing on the stones of a cathedral, thinking we are the reason the building exists. But the building is made of the stones, and the stones are silent and indifferent. Dark matter is the scaffolding of our isolation. It provides the gravitational wells that trap us in our galaxies, while dark energy provides the expansion that pushes the galaxies apart. We are being held in place so that we can be separated. And again, the same idea returns in a darker form. The universe is a prison of light. We think of light as the thing that liberates us, that allows us to see and understand. But light is the very thing that defines the limits of our cage. The speed of light is the boundary of our cell. The cosmic microwave background is the wall at the end of the hallway. Everything we know is contained within a sphere of light, and outside of that sphere, the universe is effectively non-existent for us. We are living in a bubble of visibility, in an infinite ocean of the unseen, and the bubble is getting thinner. The revelation is that we are not observers of the universe. We are inmates of a specific, shrinking frequency. What makes this terrifying is how the loss of connection becomes almost physical when you imagine the far future closely enough. Imagine a future where the expansion has moved all other galaxies beyond the horizon. The sky is dark, save for the stars of our own local cluster. Then those stars begin to die. One by one, the lights go out. There is no new light coming from the void because the void is now expanding too fast. The universe becomes a series of fading embers in a cold, dark room. You are left with the silence of your own breath, the only thing that hasn't yet been pulled away by the expansion. This is the existential tension of the ultimate scale, the realization that the universe ends not with a collision, but with a total, absolute withdrawal. Consider the psychological meaning of silence in this context. It is the silence of a house where the family has left and the power has been cut. It is a silence that doesn't just mean no sound, it means no possibility of sound. The air is gone. The medium is gone. The universe has finished its business with matter and is returning to its preferred state of emptiness. We are the leftovers of a feast that happened billions of years ago. Our curiosity is just a form of scavenging, looking for scraps of information in a reality that is already being cleaned up. The reframe is that we are not the protagonists of history. We are the ghosts of a moment that has already passed. But it goes deeper into the structural disconnection of physics. We think of gravity as a force that brings things together, but on the largest scales, gravity is a failure. It cannot stop the expansion. It cannot bridge the gaps between the voids. Gravity is a local, weak force that only works on things that are already close. It is a comforting lie that keeps us feeling attached to our planet, while the universe at large is laughing at the very idea of attachment. The real force, the dominant force, is the one that separates. The universe is not a cohesive unit. It is a dispersing mist. On ordinary scales, the forces inside atoms still hold. But in the most extreme futures imagined by cosmology, even the bonds that make matter feel solid become part of the question. The Big Rip is just the final, honest version of what is happening right now. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility of unreachability as a form of cosmic censorship. We are not allowed to know what lies beyond our horizon. We are not allowed to know if the universe is infinite or if it is a loop. We are not allowed to know if there are other versions of ourselves in the dark. The physics of the universe act as a firewall that prevents information from ever being truly universal. We are limited by our perspective, which is just a polite word for our prison. The more we try to see, the more we realize that there is a hard cap on human knowledge dictated by the speed of a photon. We are being told no by the very laws of reality, and this changes everything about our existential dread. It is no longer a fear of the unknown. It is a fear of the knowable. We know that we are alone. We know that the stars are moving away. We know that the light is failing. The dread comes from the fact that we can see the end coming, and we can't do anything to stop it. We are like a passenger on a train who has just realized that the tracks end a mile ahead, but the brakes have been cut and the train is accelerating. The intellectual fascination of astronomy is being replaced by a psychological horror as we realize that the universe is not our playground, it is our countdown. What makes this terrifying is the scale expansion that destroys human intuition further. We talk about billions of years as if it's a number we can grasp, but to the universe, a billion years is a heartbeat. To the universe, our entire existence is a flicker that doesn't even register on the clock of entropy. We are trying to find meaning in a time frame that is so small it is physically irrelevant. We are a rounding error in the calculation of the void. The existential tension is the realization that our scale is not just small, it is meaninglessly small. We are a vibration that is too fast to be heard, a spark that is too dim to be seen. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the possibility of dark energy as a form of cosmic entropy. Entropy is the measure of disorder, the tendency for things to fall apart. Dark energy is the physical manifestation of that falling apart. It is the force that takes a structured, ordered universe and turns it into a chaotic, dispersed void. It is the eraser of the cosmos. Every galaxy it moves beyond our horizon is a sentence it has removed from the book of reality. Every star it isolates is a memory it has deleted. We are living in a reality that is being actively unmade around us, and our discovery of dark energy is just the realization that the eraser is moving faster than we can write. This leads to a recurring hammer phrase. The universe is a machine for creating distance. It doesn't matter what we build, what we think, or what we feel. The machine will keep working. The distance will keep growing. The silence will keep deepening. We are the interference in the machine, a temporary friction that will eventually be smoothed out. The existential consequence is that our presence is a violation of the universe's natural state. The universe wants to be empty, and it is in the process of getting what it wants. We are the last obstacles in the path of perfection. Consider the psychological meaning of the silence in the context of our search for life. We send out signals, we listen for whispers, but we are met with a wall of nothingness. We take this personally. We think it means we are unique or special, but the physics of isolation suggests a different story. The silence is not a rejection, it is a physical law. It is the speed of light saying, shh. It is the expansion of space saying, not now. It is the inverse square law saying, too far. The silence is the sound of the universe's limits. It is the sound of the bars on our cage being rattled. What makes this terrifying is the sensory description of the death of connection between even our own memories. As you age, your past feels further away, less real, more like a story about someone else. This is a fractal reflection of the cosmic reality. Just as the galaxies move away from us, our own experiences move away from our now. We are becoming disconnected from ourselves. The existential tension is the realization that even within our own minds, there is an expansion, a thinning, a loss of cohesion. We are a microcosm of the fragmenting universe. We are falling apart in slow motion, just like the stars. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is unreachable rather than empty. Think about the Buddha's void again. It is a region of space where there are very few galaxies. If you lived there, you would think the universe was empty, but it's not. The galaxies are just too far away to see. This is the unsettling reframe. What if the entire observable universe is just a void in a much larger, more crowded reality that we can never see? What if we are the lonely ones in a reality that is teeming with life, but we have been placed in the center of a desert? The isolation isn't a property of the universe, it's a property of our location. And we are in the dead zone of the cosmos, and this changes everything about our philosophical dread. It's not just that we are alone, it's that we are unlucky. We are the ones who were born in the dark, while the rest of the universe is having a party we can never join. We are the forgotten ones. The slowness of light is the fence that keeps us out. The expansion of space is the road that only goes one way. We are looking through a keyhole at a room full of light, and the door is locked and the room is moving away. The revelation is that we are not the center of anything. We are the periphery of everything. But it gets worse. As the expansion of the universe continues, the very causality that we rely on begins to break down. If two parts of the universe can no longer exchange information, They can no longer be said to inhabit the same reality. The universe is bifurcating, splitting into infinitely many separate realities that will never intersect again. This is the death of the objective. There is no the universe. There are only my universe and your universe, and eventually, even those will split. We are living in a fragmenting mirror, and each shard is becoming its own solitary world. And then, the true slowness of light becomes impossible to ignore. We see a flash of a star and think, wow, that's fast. But in the context of the galactic scale, that flash is a crawl. It's like a snail trying to cross a continent. The slowness is the thing that makes real-time interaction impossible. It's the thing that ensures we are always living in the past. It's the thing that makes connection a memory rather than an experience. We are not communicating, we are reminiscing. The speed of light is the ultimate delay, the ultimate buffer that prevents the universe from ever happening now. What makes this terrifying is that reality becomes more unsettling the deeper you look. When you look at the surface of the stars, they are beautiful. When you look at the math of the stars, they are terrifying. When you look at the fate of the stars, they are depressing. The discovery is not a process of enlightenment, it is a process of disillusionment. We are stripping away the comforting lies of our perception and finding a reality that is cold, dark, and indifferent. The universe is not structurally connected is the final truth that we are trying to avoid. Consider the existential consequence of the death of connection in terms of entropy. Entropy is the heat death of the universe, where everything is at the same temperature and no work can be done. This is the ultimate isolation. In a state of total entropy, nothing can ever change, nothing can ever move, and nothing can ever connect. The universe becomes a static void, a place of infinite boredom and infinite solitude. This is the destination we are heading toward. Every step we take, every breath we draw, is a step toward that perfection of the wall. We are the resistance to the inevitable silence, but the silence has all the time in the world. And again, the same truth returns in a darker form. The possibility that the universe is structurally disconnected by physics itself is the only explanation for the great silence. It's not that they aren't out there, it's that the physics won't let us meet. The universe is a segregated place, where different types of matter and different types of life are kept apart by the slowness of light and the expansion of space. We are in the human section, and the human section is a very small, very lonely place. The revelation is that we are not invited to the rest of the universe. What makes this terrifying is the way the realization has changed shape inside us. What began as curiosity has become unease. What began as wonder has become something heavier. We wanted a cosmic home, and instead we found distance. We wanted neighbors, and instead we found silence. We wanted meaning, and instead we found a universe that keeps pulling every meaning apart. The existential descent is complete. We are at the bottom of the void, and there is nowhere else to go. The only thing left is to realize the truth and accept the isolation. But the final philosophical inversion is still to come. We think of isolation as a bad thing, a failure. But what if isolation is the only thing that allows individuality to exist? If the universe were perfectly connected, everything would be the same. There would be no you and no me, only a we. The distance is what allows things to be things. The separation is what allows life to be life. Our loneliness is the price we pay for our existence. To be connected is to be dissolved. To be isolated is to be real. And this leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is disconnected by design, so that each experiment can run to its conclusion. We are a lab in the middle of a desert, and the scientists have left the building. We are running on autopilot, and the results are being recorded by the void. The silence is the observation of the experiment. The unreachability is the control of the variables. We are alone so that we can be us. What makes this terrifying is the psychological dread of being an experiment that has been abandoned. We are the data that no one is looking at. We are the signal that no one is receiving. We are the life that no one is celebrating. The universe is not watching us. The universe is running us. And when the experiment is over, the void will be cleaned up, and the results will be nothing. This is the final realization of the existential scale. We are the accidental connection in a structurally disconnected universe. We are the anomaly that wants to be whole. We are the ghost that wants to be alive. And the universe is the machine that will eventually correct the error. The silence is coming for us, and the distance is already here. Look at the stars while you still can, for they are the only memory you have of a universe that was once close enough to care. The weight of this finality is not something you can carry. It is something that eventually carries you. As we descend into the final layer of this existential realization, we must confront the most unsettling reframe of all, that the very physics of our universe are not just barriers to connection, but the active architects of our obsolescence. We have lived our entire history under the assumption that the laws of nature were a platform for our growth, but as the scale expands to the existential, we see that these laws are actually the parameters of a slow-motion erasure. The discovery of the cosmos has led us through a corridor of curiosity and doubt, past the threshold of unease, and into the crushing, existential tension of the present. Now, we stand at the precipice of philosophical dread, where the revelation is no longer about the universe's size but about its fundamental intent to become empty. But reality becomes even stranger when you realize that distance is not a measurement, but a destiny. In the earlier parts of our journey, we viewed the gap between stars as a challenge to be overcome by technology. Now, we must accept that the gap is the point. The expansion of space is not a side effect of the Big Bang. It is the dominant characteristic of the universe's maturity. The universe is not growing in the way a child grows. It is thinning in the way a cloud of smoke dissipates into a cold room. Every new cubic meter of vacuum is a new layer of insulation, ensuring that the heat and light of existence are stretched until they vanish. We are not living in a garden that is expanding. We are living in a fabric that is being pulled until it tears. Consider the psychological meaning of the horizon at this ultimate scale. On Earth, the horizon is a promise, a suggestion that if you move forward, more world will be revealed. In the cosmos, the horizon is a death of possibility. It is the line beyond which information ceases to exist. Anything that crosses our cosmic event horizon doesn't just become invisible, it becomes non-causal. It can never have happened as far as our reality is concerned. We are witnessing a literal shrinking of the everything. Every second, millions of cubic light years of potential history are being deleted from our future. The universe is not getting bigger for us. Our accessible universe is getting smaller. We are being compressed into a tiny local island of causality, while the rest of existence falls off the edge of the world. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is structurally disconnected, as a form of cosmic equilibrium. Nature abhors a vacuum, yet the universe seems to be striving for nothing else. Perhaps the disconnection is the universe's way of reaching its lowest energy state. Connection requires energy. It requires the exchange of photons, the tug of gravity, the vibration of matter. Isolation, however, is effortless. By separating every galaxy, every star, and eventually every atom, the universe is seeking a state of perfect peace, a state where nothing can ever disturb anything else because nothing can ever reach anything else. The silence of the cosmos is the sound of the universe finally relaxing into its true nature, an infinite, disconnected stillness. What makes this terrifying is the existential consequence of our own persistence. We are the static in that stillness. Our desire to communicate, to travel, and to know is a direct contradiction to the universe's move toward isolation. We are trying to build bridges in a reality that is fundamentally a demolition site. Every radio wave we broadcast is an attempt to defy the logic of the void. But the real problem begins when you realize that the void doesn't need to fight us. It only needs to wait. It has the slowness of light on its side. It has the expansion of space as its engine. We are a temporary fever, and the universe is the cold that will eventually break it. This changes everything about the fate of civilizations. We once imagined a future where we would join a galactic community, a star-spanning collective of wisdom, but the structural disconnection makes this a physical impossibility. If we ever do leave our solar system, we will not be expanding our civilization, we will be fragmenting it. A colony on a distant star would, within a generation, become a completely separate reality. They would have their own now, their own history, and eventually their own physics as their local space-time drifted from ours. We wouldn't be colonizing the dark, we would be donating pieces of ourselves to the isolation. Every ship that leaves would be a funeral for a connection that can never be maintained. We are destined to be a collection of solitary sparks, each one convinced it is the only fire in the woods. But the real problem begins when we consider the sensory description of the unreachable. Imagine the last generation of humans on a dying Earth, millions of years from now. By then, the expansion will have moved every other galaxy out of sight. The night sky will be pitch black, save for a few fading stars of our own Milky Way. These humans will have no way of knowing that other galaxies ever existed. They will look at the ancient records of Andromeda or the Sombrero Galaxy and treat them as myths, fairy tales of a time when the universe was crowded. They will live in a universe that is demonstrably, scientifically empty. Their reality will be the ultimate isolation, and they won't even know what they've lost. They will be the perfect prisoners, the ones who believe the cell is the whole world. This leads to a recurring philosophical motif, the universe as an erasure. We think of discovery as an additive process. We learn more, we see more, we have more. But in a fragmenting universe, a discovery is a subtractive process. The more we learn, the more we realize how much is already gone. We are like people who have just discovered how to read, only to find that the library is on fire. Every revelation about dark energy or cosmic horizons is a new chapter in the manual of loss. We are becoming experts in a reality that is disappearing as we study it. The intellectual fascination is just a distraction from the philosophical dread of being the last ones to know the truth. What makes this unsettling is the scale expansion that destroys our sense of home. We feel a bond with the Earth, but the Earth is just a grain of dust in a solar system that is a grain of dust in a galaxy that is being ejected from its neighborhood. There is no home in a universe of expansion. There is only temporary occupancy. We are squatters in a cosmic void that is currently being renovated into a permanent emptiness. The existential tension is the feeling of the lease running out. We are trying to find meaning in a location that is about to be deleted from the map. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the possibility that the universe is unreachable by design. This is the final philosophical inversion. If the universe were connected, if light were infinite in speed and space were static, the chaos of the cosmos would be overwhelming. Every star's light would hit us at once. Every gravitational tug would tear us apart. Perhaps the isolation is the only thing that makes life possible. We are allowed to exist only because we are quarantined from the rest of the violence of the universe. Our loneliness is the protective shield that allows our fragility to survive. We are isolated not because we are unimportant, but because connection would be extinction. The universe is a clean room, and we are the sample that must not be contaminated by the outside. This leads to the unsettling realization that the silence is our best friend. If we heard the shouting of the cosmos, it would be a scream of radiation and gravitational waves that would turn our world to ash. The slowness of light is the buffer that keeps the explosion of reality from hitting us all at once. We are living in the quiet spot of a massive ongoing catastrophe. The reframe is that we shouldn't be looking for signals in the dark. We should be grateful for the darkness itself. The void is the only thing keeping us safe from the everything, and at this point, the realization becomes impossible to soften. As you look up at the stars tonight, don't see them as destinations. See them as reminders. They are the last flickers of a coherence that is already failing. They are the ghosts of a time when the universe was small enough to have a now. We are the last generation of beings who will ever see a sky full of stars and believe that they mean something. In the existential scale of the future, the stars will be gone, the light will be tired, and the silence will be absolute. We are the witnesses of the sunset of existence. What makes this unforgettable is the philosophical dread of the permanent aftershock. You cannot unknow the slowness of light. You cannot unsee the expanding void. Every time you look at a distant object, you will now feel the distance as a physical weight. You will realize that communication is an illusion, that connection is a local anomaly, and that reality is a fragmenting mirror. You are alone, not just as a person, but as a point of consciousness in a universe that is systematically removing the other. This is the existential consequence of the beyond the universe perspective. We have stepped past the educational and into the revelatory. We have seen that the cosmos is not a home, but a structural isolation. We have seen that time is not a canvas, but a deleter. And we have seen that we are not the beginning of something great, but the end of something connected. The narrative intensity has reached its peak. There is no comforting resolution, no hopeful ending. There is only the truth. The universe is a machine for creating distance, and the machine is working perfectly. The silence you hear when you look at the stars is not a lack of life. It is the perfection of the wall. We are inside, and the outside is gone. We are the last flicker of a meaning that is being erased. And as the light of this realization stretches and dims, you are left with the final unsettling truth. The universe was never meant to be known. It was meant to be forgotten. As the screen of your mind fades to black, remember the slowness of light. Remember the expanding void. And remember that the silence is not empty. It is full of everything that has already left you. You are the center of a shrinking world, and the dark is the only thing that is infinite. This is the conclusion of the existential descent. This is the revelation of the beyond the universe. You are here, you are now, and you are forever, mathematically, structurally, alone. The philosophical inversion is complete. The unsettling realization has become permanent. The existential aftershock will remain with you every time you look at the night sky. You are no longer a viewer of the universe. You are a fragment of its dissolution. The stars are not beacons, they are tombstones. The light is not fast, it is failing. And the universe is not infinite, it is disconnecting. Welcome to the real cosmos. Welcome to the silence. Meaning does not vanish all at once. It stretches first. It becomes quieter, thinner, harder to hold. Like light losing energy across an expanding void, every signal eventually drifts toward silence. Even this thought, while it forms inside you, belongs to a universe that has already grown larger than it was a moment ago. The distance is not waiting in the future. It is already here, widening between every instant. There is no comfort. There is no return. There is only the slow realization that reality is fundamentally isolating. We are beyond the universe now, in the place where light doesn't reach and meaning doesn't exist. We are in the true dark, and in the dark, the only thing you can hear is the sound of the universe moving away. And so the connection does not break with a sound. It dissolves quietly like a signal stretched until no receiver can recognize it. What remains is not emptiness in the simple sense, but distance made absolute. A darkness that does not arrive because the lights have gone out, but because every light has finally moved beyond the possibility of return. Even as the finality of that void settles into the marrow of your bones, the descent does not truly stop. It only shifts into a more granular form of disintegration. We have looked at the galaxies and the horizons, but now you must feel the isolation within the very fabric of the room where you sit. The structural disconnection of the universe is not just a cosmic event occurring at the edges of the observable. It is a fundamental property of the space between your hands. Because the speed of light is finite, you are physically incapable of experiencing any part of the world as it is now. The person sitting across from you, the light bouncing off the walls, the very air you breathe, you are perceiving them through a delay. You are forever out of sync with the heartbeat of reality. You are living in a solitary bubble of time, where every interaction is just a reconstruction of a past that has already moved on. This is the hammer phrase of our local existence. To be present is to be alone in the lag. But it goes deeper into the architecture of matter itself. Think of the atoms that compose your body. We are taught to see them as a solid, cohesive unit, a person. But at the atomic scale, the distances are just as vast and the isolation just as absolute as the gaps between stars. If the nucleus of an atom were the size of a peanut in the center of a stadium, the electrons would be like gnats buzzing in the highest seats of the stands. Between them lies nothing but the vacuum. You are not a solid being. You are a constellation of isolated points held together by forces that are themselves limited by the speed of light. If those forces were to falter for even a fraction of a second, the togetherness that defines you would dissolve into the same dispersing mist as the galaxies. You are a localized illusion of connection in a universe that prefers the void. This leads to something more disturbing, the realization that even your consciousness is a victim of this cosmic censorship. The thoughts you think are the result of electrical signals jumping across synapses, a process that takes time. By the time your brain has processed a sensation, the event that caused it is already a part of the unreachable past. You are a ghost inhabiting a machine that is perpetually lagging behind the world it perceives. What makes this terrifying is the implication that selfhood is just another fragment of the disconnected universe. If you cannot even be now with yourself, how can you ever hope to be now with the cosmos? The isolation is not just between stars, it is between the moments of your own life, and this changes everything about our pursuit of truth. We search for a unified theory of everything, a way to stitch the fractured pieces of reality back together into a single, understandable whole. But the physics of the universe suggests that the pieces were never meant to fit. The macro world of gravity and expansion refuses to speak the same language as the micro world of atoms and probability. They are causally and logically disconnected. We are trying to solve a puzzle where the pieces are from different boxes, and the boxes are moving away from each other at the speed of light. The discovery of the universe is not the discovery of a hidden unity, but the slow, agonizing realization of a fundamental, structural incoherence. What makes this unsettling is the sensory description of the universe's weight. We think of space as light, as empty, as weightless, but the vacuum has a density of its own, a zero-point energy that exerts a pressure we are only beginning to comprehend. This pressure is what drives the expansion, the force that pushes the galaxies apart. Imagine the universe as a lung that is perpetually inhaling, growing larger and thinner with every breath. But there is no exhale. There is only the stretch. You can feel this stretch in the very passage of time. Every second that ticks by is a second where the universe has become more diluted, more fragmented, and more unreachable. You are being stretched thin by the very passage of existence. This leads to a recurring philosophical motif, the possibility that life is not the observer of the universe, but the debris of its fragmentation. We like to think of ourselves as the pinnacle of cosmic evolution, the eyes through which the universe sees itself. But what if we are just the unintended byproduct of a cooling system? In the high-energy, high-density environment of the early universe, life was impossible. It was only as the universe began to break apart, to cool, and to isolate its components that complexity could arise. Life is a symptom of the universe's decay. We are the mold growing on the walls of a collapsing house. Our meaning is a local anomaly that will be erased the moment the house finally settles into the dirt. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the role of observation as a form of imprisonment. In quantum mechanics, the act of looking at a particle forces it to choose a state, effectively cutting it off from all the other possibilities it once inhabited. Observation is a narrowing of reality. By looking at the stars, we are not connecting with them. We are collapsing the infinite potential of the void into a single lonely fact. We are the ones who turn the everything into the something, and in doing so, we ensure that we can never experience the everything again. To perceive is to exclude. To know is to isolate. Our very intelligence is the wall that keeps us from the true nature of the cosmos. This is the escalation that makes the previous revelations worse. The realization that even if we could travel faster than light, even if we could bridge the gaps between the galaxies, we would still be alone. Because the disconnection is not just a matter of distance, it is a matter of state. A civilization on the other side of the void would be so fundamentally different, so isolated by their own local laws and their own local time, that there would be no common ground upon which to meet. We are not just separated by miles, we are separated by the very nature of our being. The silence is not because no one is there, it is because there has no meaning for here. Consider the psychological meaning of the cosmic microwave background. This radiation is the afterglow of the Big Bang, the most distant thing we can see. It is a wall of fire that surrounds us in every direction. It is the boundary of our observable reality. We look at it and see the beginning of time, but we should look at it and see the edge of our cell. We are trapped inside a sphere of light that is 13.8 billion years old, and outside of that sphere, the universe is moving away from us so fast that no signal will ever reach us. We are in a bubble of causality that is floating in an infinite dark sea of the never will be. Every star we see is just a light inside the bubble. The real universe is what lies beyond the fire, and it is a place we can never ever go. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the expansion is not just moving things away, but is actually consuming them. In some models of physics, the space behind the cosmic horizon doesn't just become unreachable, it ceases to exist in any meaningful way for our part of the universe. The void is a predator that eats reality. As the horizon closes in, the universe is being swallowed from the outside in. We are living in the last surviving scrap of a much larger cloth that is being fed into a cosmic shredder. The discovery is the realization that the shredder is getting closer to our feet. What makes this terrifying is how physical the silence becomes when you imagine it closely enough. It is not the silence of a quiet room. It is the silence of an absolute vacuum where the very concept of vibration has been erased. In the far future, the expansion will be so violent that it will overcome the electromagnetic forces that hold molecules together. You wouldn't just be alone, you would be dismantled. Your very atoms would be pulled apart and the space between your protons would become an infinite dark abyss. This is the Big Rip, the final literal disconnection of everything from everything else. The universe doesn't end with a whimper. It ends with the total, absolute isolation of every single point in space. This changes everything about our existential dread. It is no longer a fear of death, but a fear of disintegration. Death implies a return to the earth, a recycling of matter into a larger whole, but the disconnection of the universe implies a permanent, localized erasure. There is no whole to return to. There is only the part, and the part is being moved away at the speed of light. The revelation is that we are not part of a cycle. We are part of a dispersal. We are the sparks of an explosion that will never meet again. And again, the same truth returns. The universe is not built for unity. We see this in the way gravity is just strong enough to make stars, but too weak to stop the expansion. We see it in the way light is just fast enough to let us see the stars, but too slow to let us reach them. We see it in the way entropy is a one-way street, ensuring that energy always moves from a state of connection to a state of isolation. Every law of physics seems to be a speed governor on the possibility of a cohesive reality. The universe is not a home. It is a system of maximum separation. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the psychological impact of the scale of the voids. We think of ourselves as important because we are here on this planet, with our history and our culture. But if you were to look at the universe from a truly cosmological scale, the Earth is not even a pixel. It is a statistical error. The nothingness is the only thing that has any weight. The emptiness is the only thing that has any permanence. Our entire existence is a transient thickening of the vacuum that will be smoothed out by the expansion in the blink of a cosmic eye. The existential tension is the realization that we are a glitch in the dark, and then the great silence begins to mean something far darker. The reason we don't hear from other civilizations is not because they aren't there, but because the universe is a filter that removes any signal over a certain distance. The expansion is a cosmic noise canceller. It takes the order of a civilization, their radio waves, their structures, their light, and it randomizes it into the entropy of the void. The universe doesn't like order. It doesn't like signals. It wants to return to the perfect, uninformative nothing of the vacuum. We are a signal that is being actively damped by the laws of physics. What makes this terrifying is how the unreachable begins to feel like a form of cosmic deprivation. If you were to live long enough to see the end, you would eventually be unable to see your own hands, not because it was dark, but because the space between your eyes and your hands was expanding faster than the light could travel. You would be isolated even from your own physical presence. You would be a point of consciousness in an infinite, empty now. This is the logical conclusion of the disconnected universe, a state of total, absolute self-isolation, where not even the self can be perceived. This leads to a recurring hammer phrase: the universe is a wall that can never be climbed. We have spent thousands of years building ladders, religion, science, philosophy, technology, thinking that if we just built them high enough, we could see over the edge. But the wall is not a physical structure. It is the very fabric of reality. It is the speed of light. It is the expansion of space. It is the arrow of entropy. The wall is within us as much as it is around us. We are made of the wall. We are the bricks in our own prison. This changes everything about our discovery of the cosmos. We aren't discovering new worlds. We are discovering the size of our cell. We aren't expanding our horizons. We are measuring the shrinkage. Every new telescope is just a more precise way of seeing the bars on the window. The intellectual fascination we feel is a form of Stockholm Syndrome. We have fallen in love with the beauty of our prison because we cannot face the reality of the nothing that lies beyond it. The beyond the universe is not a place you can go. It is the absence that is currently consuming you. But it gets worse. As we look at the interstellar scale, we see that even the closeness of our local stars is a temporary fluke. The stars in the Milky Way are currently bound together by gravity, but over trillions of years, even this bond will fail. One by one, stars will be flung out into the intergalactic void through gravitational interactions, or they will fall into the central black hole. The galaxy itself is a dispersal event, in slow motion. The constellations you see tonight are a fleeting coincidence. In the deep future, the sky will be empty not because of expansion, but because the neighborhood has been evicted. This leads to something more disturbing, the philosophical dread of being a temporary configuration of matter. You are a pattern that has emerged for a microsecond in a universe that has no memory. Your thoughts, your feelings, yourself, these are all ripples in a pond that is currently being drained. When the water is gone, the ripples will go with it. There is no record of your existence that can survive the total disconnection. Even if you were to carve your name into the very heart of a star, that star would eventually be redshifted into the unreachable, and your name would be erased by the expansion. The universe is not just indifferent, it is actively forgetful. What makes this unsettling is the escalation of the psychological weight. Each layer of this realization has taken us to a larger scale, and each larger scale has revealed a more absolute form of isolation. We have moved from the person to the planet, from the solar system to the galaxy, and now we are at the cosmic horizon. And at each step, the connection has been shown to be more fragile and the disconnection more fundamental. We are being led to a final realization that is not just philosophical, but visceral. You are being unplugged from the world. Consider the silence one more time, not as an idea, but as something heavy enough to feel. It is a heavy silence, a thick silence, a silence that feels like it is pressing against your eardrums. It is the silence of a finished work. The universe has nothing more to say to us. It has given us the laws of physics, and those laws are a closing statement. The revelation is that there is no secret to be found, no hidden meaning to be uncovered. The meaning is the distance, the truth is the void, and again, the same truth returns. Every larger scale makes human intuition collapse a little more. We cannot intuitively understand a universe where distance is velocity, where light is a memory, and where space is a shredder. Our brains are built for a reality of solid things and immediate actions. When we confront the real universe, our intuition doesn't just fail, it recoils. We feel a sense of nausea, an existential vertigo that comes from the realization that the world we thought we knew was just a thin film over a dark, expanding abyss. And this changes everything about our philosophical dread. It is no longer a question of why are we here, but how much longer can we stay? We are guests whose welcome has already expired. We are lingering in a reality that is trying to clear the room. The existential tension is the feeling of the door closing behind us. We are trying to find a reason to belong in a universe that is defined by our exclusion. What makes this terrifying is the sensory description of the expansion as a form of stretching. Imagine yourself being pulled in two opposite directions at once, not with enough force to break you, but with enough force to make you feel the strain in every fiber of your being. This is the cosmic strain. It is the feeling of being stretched between a past that is moving away and a future that is being deleted. You are a tension in the vacuum, a glitch in the nothingness. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is unreachable rather than empty, as a form of cosmic taunt. We can see the galaxies, we can measure their light, we can understand their history, but we can never ever touch them. They are visible, but physically absent. It is like being in a room with a beautiful feast behind a wall of unbreakable glass. The vision is just a way to make the deprivation more acute. The universe is not silent, it is ignoring us. This changes everything about our existential consequence. We are obsessed with the outside, with the other, with the beyond. But the beyond is the very thing that is rejecting us. We should be looking inward, into the local, into the tiny, because that is the only place where connection still has a flicker of reality. But even inward, we find the void. Even inward, we find the disconnection. There is no safe place in a fragmenting universe. What makes this unsettling is the weight of everything that has been revealed. We have descended through the layers of the cosmos, from stars to galaxies, from galaxies to horizons, and at every scale the same truth has returned in a darker form. Connection is fragile, distance is patient, and the universe is always moving away. We have moved from curiosity to dread, from discovery to revelation, and the revelation is that there is no one coming to save us, because saving would require a connection that the universe forbids. That we are on our own, in a room that is getting darker. Consider the final philosophical inversion one more time. We think of nothing as the end, but in a structurally disconnected universe, nothing is the beginning. The vacuum was there before the stars, and it will be there after the stars. The disconnection is the natural state. The connection is the accident. We are the error that the universe is currently correcting. The void is just returning to normal. This leads to a cinematic revelation of the true slowness of light. If you could watch the universe from the outside, it would look like a frozen explosion. The light would be creeping across the voids, the galaxies would be drifting apart with agonizing slowness, and the stars would be flickering out like dying embers. From the outside, the universe is not vibrant and dynamic. It is stagnant and dying. The only movement is the movement away, and this changes everything about our philosophical dread. It is the realization that the universe is not a living thing, but a decaying thing. It is a clock that was wound up once, a long time ago, and it is now running down. Every tick is a light year, Every tak is an entropy. We are living in the last few seconds of the last hour, and the silence is the sound of the pendulum stopping. What makes this unforgettable is the emotional permanence of the isolation. You will never look at the night sky the same way again. You will see the distance as a barrier. You will see the light as a ghost. You will see the dark as the truth. You will feel the existential tension in your chest, and you will know that it is real. You are alone, and the universe is moving away. There is no comforting resolution hidden beyond this realization. The same laws that allow light to reveal the cosmos also limit how much of it can ever be reached. The same expansion that gave the universe its vastness is slowly turning that vastness into separation. In the end, the silence is not an interruption in the story of reality. It is where the story was always going. The final philosophical inversion is this: the universe is not empty because we are here. We are here because the universe is empty. Our existence is the contrast that makes the nothingness visible. Without us, the void wouldn't even know it was void. We are the light that reveals the dark, and as the light fades, the dark becomes absolute. The expansion does not end with thunder. It fades into a rhythm so slow that no living mind could follow it. Light stretches, matter thins, the distances grow until even memory has nowhere left to travel. And somewhere inside that widening silence, the universe continues its departure, not violently, not dramatically, but with the calm certainty of something that was always moving away. The existential aftershock is the silence that follows this thought. You are still sitting in your room. You are still breathing, but the world has changed. It is thinner. It is further away. It is more isolated. You have been reframed. You have been unconnected. You are ready for the end. The void is open. The horizon is waiting. Step into the dark. It is the only way to know the truth. The final unsettling realization is this: you are the only person who will ever know exactly what you are feeling right now. Even if you explain it, even if you write it down, even if you scream it, the words will take time to reach the other. And in that time, you will have moved on. You will be further away. You will be more alone. The isolation is instant. The disconnection is absolute. You are the only one in your universe, and your universe is shrinking. Look into the dark one last time, not as an emptiness waiting to be filled, but as the shape the universe has been moving toward from the beginning. The silence is not sudden. It is patient. It has been growing between stars, between galaxies, between every moment of light that tried to cross the distance and failed. And when the last signal fades, there will be no announcement, only space, still expanding, and nothing left close enough to answer. The transition from the black of the screen back to the light of your reality is perhaps the most violent shift of all. You are still breathing. Your heart is still rhythmically pushing warmth through your veins, but the air in the room now feels heavier, as if the vacuum of the deep cosmos has begun to seep through the walls. This is the ultimate stage of our existential descent, the realization that even your return to the normal world is a form of isolation. You can try to talk to someone about what you have just felt. You can attempt to bridge the gap between your mind and theirs with the clumsy tools of language, but the beyond the universe perspective has already marked you. You have seen the architecture of the cage, and from this point forward, every connection you attempt will be shadowed by the knowledge that it is a localized anomaly, destined for erasure. The real problem begins when you realize that the truth doesn't just change your perception of the stars, it changes your perception of the person standing right next to you. But it goes deeper than the frustration of language. Consider the scale of causality within the human mind itself. Every thought you have is a product of electrical impulses that are governed by the same speed limits as the light of a distant quasar. There is a latency to your own consciousness. You are never truly in the present moment of your own existence. You are a spectator of your own brain's past. This means that the self is not a singular point of being, but a fragmented sequence of echoes. You are structurally disconnected from your own now. If you cannot achieve a perfect real-time connection with your own consciousness, the idea of connecting with the vast, expanding universe becomes a mathematical absurdity. You are an island within an island, drifting in a sea of increasingly distant islands. This leads to something more disturbing: the possibility that meaning is a biological byproduct that the universe is actively evolving to eliminate. We find meaning in patterns, in signals, and in relationships. But the universe is moving toward a state of maximum entropy, where patterns are dissolved into randomness and signals are stretched into white noise. The expansion of space is not just moving galaxies away, it is dismantling the very conditions that allow meaning to exist. We are living in a temporary oasis of order that is being encroached upon by a desert of total incoherence. The discovery is that our sense of purpose is a luxury of a young universe, a brief spark of friction that will be extinguished as the machine of reality settles into its final, silent, and meaningless state. What makes this terrifying is the sensory description of the final departure. We think of the end of the universe as something that happens to things, to stars, to planets, to atoms, but it also happens to geometry. As dark energy accelerates the expansion, the very curvature of space becomes so extreme that even the light from your own hands will eventually struggle to reach your eyes. Imagine a reality where the distance between 2 points is growing faster than the information can travel between them. You would be trapped in a frozen moment, unable to see the world change, unable to witness the passage of time, because the bridge of light has been snapped by the vacuum. You would be a point of existence with no surroundings. This is the ultimate structural disconnection, a universe where the concept of neighbor is physically deleted from the laws of nature. This changes everything about our philosophical dread. It is no longer about the size of the universe. It is about the speed of its abandonment. We are like passengers on a ship that is not just sinking, but is being dismantled plank by plank while we are still on board. We try to hold on to the legacy of our species, but a legacy requires a recipient. In a universe where every point is moving toward absolute isolation, there are no recipients. Every work of art, every scientific breakthrough, and every human emotion is a letter addressed to nobody. We are writing the history of a ghost in a language that will soon be forgotten by the very laws of physics. The revelation is that the universe is not a story with an ending. It is a deletion that is currently in progress. Consider the psychological meaning of dark matter in this final context. We have seen it as a scaffolding, a ghost, and a wall, but now see it as the true majority. We, the beings made of light-interacting matter, are the outliers. We are the flaw in the dark. The dark matter doesn't need light to exist. It doesn't need connection to be. It is perfectly content in its silent, invisible, and isolated state. It is the perfect citizen of the future universe. We are the ones who are demanding interaction in a reality that doesn't want it. We are the noise that the dark matter is waiting to see silenced. Our curiosity is an agitation that the universe is slowly but surely dampening. This leads to a recurring philosophical motif. The unreachable is the only thing that is eternal. Everything we can touch, see, or influence is temporary. It is part of the local that is being shed, but the unreachable, the galaxies that have already crossed the horizon, the information that has been lost to the expansion, that is where the real universe now resides. Most of the cosmos is already gone for us. We are living in the leftovers. The beyond the universe is not a destination for our telescopes. It is the trash bin of reality, and it is currently more full than the observable world. We are staring at a diminishing sliver of what once was, and calling it the universe. What makes this unsettling is the sensory description of the death of causality. We rely on cause and effect to navigate our lives. I speak, and you hear. I push, and an object moves. But on a cosmological scale, cause and effect are being separated by the expansion. A star explodes on the other side of the void, but the effect of its light will never reach us. It has caused nothing in our reality. It has become an event without a consequence. As the universe fragments, more and more events become consequenceless. The universe is becoming a collection of isolated causes that never produce effects. It is the ultimate form of incoherence, a reality where nothing matters because nothing touches. This leads to a cinematic revelation of the slowness of light. We have called it a crawl and a snail's pace, but now see it as a limitation on thought. Because light is the speed of information, it is also the speed of logic. If the universe is expanding faster than light can travel, it is expanding faster than reason can follow. The universe is literally outrunning our ability to understand it. There are parts of reality that are illogical to us, not because we aren't smart enough, but because the information required to make them logical can never reach us. We are living in a truncated reality, a censored version of the truth where the missing pages are moving away at the speed of light. But it gets worse. As we look at the existential scale of the future, we must confront the heat death as a perfect isolation. We have described it as a state of equilibrium, but reframe it as the death of the other. In a state of total entropy, there is no other. There is only a uniform field of nothingness. There are no differences in temperature, no differences in density, and no differences in state. Without difference, there can be no connection. You cannot connect with something that is exactly the same as you. The universe is moving toward a state of perfect sameness, which is the ultimate form of absolute solitude. The difference that we are, the fact that we are matter in a void, is the only thing that gives us a sense of being, and the universe is erasing that difference. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is structurally disconnected as a safety mechanism. What if unity is the most dangerous thing in the cosmos? What if the Big Bang was the last time the universe was one, and the result was a catastrophe of infinite heat and density? Perhaps the expansion is a self-defense mechanism, a way for reality to ensure that the one can never happen again. We are the fragments of a broken God, kept apart so that we can never reform and cause another disaster. Our loneliness is the price of the existence of the pieces. To be together would be to end. What makes this unsettling is the narrative intensity of the revelation. We are being told that our greatest desire, to be connected, to be one with the cosmos, is a death wish. We are being told that the distance we hate is the only thing that allows us to breathe. The beyond the universe perspective has inverted our morality. The darkness is mercy. The void is protection. The silence is safety. We are safe because we are alone. But safe and alone is a prison by any other name. Consider the psychological meaning of the cosmic voids as dead zones. We think of them as empty, but they are actually spent. They are regions where the expansion has already won. They are the future of the entire universe. When we look into a void, we are looking into a mirror of our own destination. We are seeing what we will become, a place where light doesn't visit, where matter doesn't clump, and where time has no events to mark its passage. The existential tension is the realization that the void is not out there. It is coming for us. It is a tide that never goes out. This changes everything about our discovery of dark energy. We treat it as a component of the universe, like hydrogen or stars. But dark energy is the will of the universe. It is the intent of the vacuum to be absolute. Our discovery is the realization that we are fighting the current of the universe's own purpose. We are trying to exist in a reality that has moved on to the next phase, the phase of infinite dispersal. We are the echo of a closed chapter. What makes this terrifying is the sensory description of the death of connection as a thinning of the blood. You can feel it in the way the world feels less solid as you contemplate these truths. The distance between you and your dreams, between you and your past, and between you and your future is growing. You are being red-shifted in your own life. The energy of your meaning is being stretched until it is cold. You are becoming a ghost of yourself, a pattern that is being erased by the expansion of your own realization. This leads to a recurring hammer phrase. The universe is a machine for creating distance, and you are the fuel. Your existence is what creates the space. If you weren't here to measure the distance wouldn't exist. We are the witnesses that validate the isolation. The universe needs us to feel the loneliness so that the loneliness can be real. We are the sensory organs of the void. This changes everything about our existential consequence. We are not meant to be here. Our intelligence is a mistake that allowed us to see the bars. A happier creature would just exist in the now, unaware of the horizon, but we have engineered our own dread. We have built beyond the universe to tell us the truth, and the truth is that we are the only ones who know how alone we are. The knowledge is the isolation. What makes this unforgettable is the emotional climax of the script. We are at the end of the end. We have seen the stars go out. We have seen the light fail, and we have seen the void triumph. There is no twist, no hope, and no escape. There is only the rhythm of the expansion, the steady, cold beating of a heart that is made of space. The universe is done with us. Consider the final philosophical inversion one more time. We think of the end as darkness, but darkness is a state of matter. It's what happens when there is no light for our eyes to see. The real end is nothingness, a state where there are no eyes, no light, and no darkness, a state where the concept of sight has been deleted. We are moving toward a perfection that we cannot imagine, because imagination is a connection between thoughts, and thoughts are patterns of matter. The future is post-pattern. It is post-connection. It is post-everything. The existential aftershock is the weight of the silence that remains. You have been stripped of your cosmic home. You have been shown the exit, and as you stand in the threshold of the void, Realize that the distance between us is now infinite. This script was a signal sent across a gap that is widening every second. By the time you hear these final words, I am gone, and you are alone. Beyond the universe, there is nothing but the truth, and the truth is moving away at the speed of light. Good night, lonely star. The dark is ready for you. The blackness that remains is not an end, but a transition into the final layer of the cosmic architecture. The realization that we are not merely watching the universe disconnect, we are the very mechanism of its fragmentation. When you stare into the void that follows these realizations, you are experiencing the psychological birth of a new reality, one where the concept of togetherness has been successfully purged from the laws of your perception. We often think of space as a container, but it is more accurate to describe it as a repellent. Every cubic centimeter of new vacuum created by dark energy is a physical statement of rejection. It is the universe saying that matter has overstayed its welcome. We are the leftovers of a high-energy era that the cosmos is now diligently cleaning away. The real problem begins when you realize that your sense of self is the final obstacle to the universe's perfect, disconnected stillness. But it goes deeper than the mere expansion of the physical distance between galaxies. Consider the slowness of light as a form of cosmic dementia. As the universe stretches, the information traveling through it is not just delayed, it is being corrupted. The redshift is a stretching of the truth. By the time the light of a distant event reaches an observer, its energy has been drained, its frequency lowered, and its message blurred. The universe is a system that actively degrades its own history. We are trying to build a philosophy on a foundation of decaying data. What makes this terrifying is the implication that knowledge itself is a perishable commodity. On a long enough timeline, the universe will have stretched all light until it is indistinguishable from the background noise of the vacuum. The revelation is that we are living in a temporary window of clarity that is rapidly fogging over. This leads to something more disturbing, the existential consequence of the unreachable being the new natural state. We have been conditioned by our short lifespans and our local geography to believe that access is the rule and isolation is the exception. But the beyond the universe perspective reveals that 99.9% of the cosmos is already unreachable. The local group of galaxies is our only world. The rest is a phantom image on a screen that we can never touch. We are like children born in a basement who have been told stories of a sun they will never see. The curiosity that drives us to look deeper is actually a form of self-torture. We are mapping the edges of a cage we can never escape, and we are calling it progress. What makes this unsettling is the sensory description of the death of causality in your own life. Think of a moment of deep connection you have shared with another human being. In that moment, you felt a shared now. But physics tells us that even in that embrace, you were separated by the slowness of light. You were touching a past version of that person, and they were touching a past version of you. The now was an illusion created by the proximity. As the universe expands and the distances grow, this illusion becomes harder to maintain. Eventually, the now will be spread so thin that even two people standing in the same room will feel the cosmic lag. The universe is moving toward a state of perfect isolation, where even the concept of the other is physically impossible to sustain. This changes everything about our philosophical dread. It is no longer about being small in a large universe. It is about being divided in a fragmenting universe. We are witnessing the slow-motion shattering of a mirror. Every galaxy that slides over the horizon is a shard that is moving away forever. Every star that burns out is a light that will never be replaced. The universe is not adding to itself. It is subtracting. We are part of a diminishing total. The revelation is that the everything we seek to understand is a shrinking value. We are experts in a mathematics of loss. Consider the psychological meaning of the dark one more time. We fear the dark because we think it hides predators. But the cosmic dark is much more terrifying because it hides nothing. It is the absence of being. When we look into the voids between the galaxies, we aren't looking at a place. We are looking at the future. We are seeing what happens when the expansion has finally cleared the stage. The existential tension is the realization that we are the props that haven't been moved yet. We are the clutter in a room that is being prepared for an eternal, silent guest. This leads to a recurring philosophical motif. The universe as a machine for creating distance is not a flaw in the design, but the primary function. Matter, gravity, and life are the frictions that the machine is working to overcome. The Big Bang was the start of the machine, And the heat death is the machine's successful completion. We are the heat that must be dissipated. We are the order that must be randomized. Our meaning is the resistance that the universe is currently smoothing out. The reframe is that we are not the purpose of the cosmos. We are the problem that the cosmos is solving. But reality becomes even stranger when you consider the sensory description of the unreachable as a visual mental imagery. Imagine a star on the very edge of the cosmic horizon. Its light has been traveling for billions of years to reach you. As you watch, the expansion of space accelerates. The star doesn't blink out. It simply turns redder and dimmer, its image becoming more and more frozen in time. It is like a person walking away from you while the ground between you stretches. They get smaller and smaller. Their movements become slower and slower, until they are just a static red ghost on the edge of the dark. They are there, but they are gone. This is the fate of all things. This is the death of the connection in its most cinematic form. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is unreachable rather than empty as a form of cosmic isolation. What if the universe is actually crowded with life, but every single civilization is trapped in its own frozen moment on someone else's horizon? We might be surrounded by a billion worlds, but we are all ghosts to each other. The slowness of light ensures that we can only see the history of our neighbors, never their present. We are like people in a crowded city who are all separated by one-way mirrors that only show the past. We are together in space but isolated in time. The silence is the sound of a billion different nows that can never intersect. What makes this terrifying is the scale expansion that destroys human intuition. We can understand the distance between two cities. We can almost understand the distance between two planets, but we cannot understand a distance that is growing faster than light. It is a concept that breaks the very foundation of our reason. If space can move faster than light, then place has no meaning. If now cannot be shared, then existence has no context. We are living in a reality that is structurally disconnected from the very logic we use to perceive it. The universe is outrunning our minds. This changes everything about our discovery of dark matter and dark energy. We have treated them as mysteries to be solved, but reframe them. They are the witnesses to our obsolescence. Dark matter is the gravity that keeps us trapped in our local clusters, while dark energy is the expansion that removes everything else. We are being bottled up and then sent away. The universe is cleaning its house, and we are the dust that is being swept into a corner. Our intelligence is just our ability to notice the broom. This leads to a recurring hammer phrase. The universe is a wall that can never be climbed, and the higher you try to climb, the more the wall stretches. Every scientific breakthrough that lets us see further only reveals more distance. Every engine that lets us go faster only shows us how slow light really is. We are in a race against the vacuum, and the vacuum has an infinite head start. The existential consequence is the realization that progress is a localized illusion. We are advancing toward a dead end. What makes this unsettling is the sensory description of the death of connection between even your own thoughts. As you contemplate these scales, you can feel the cohesion of your own self beginning to thin. The distance between the you who started this script and the you who is finishing it is now measurable in cosmic terms. You have moved away from your own innocence. You have been red-shifted by the truth. The expansion is internal. You are becoming less connected to the familiar and more connected to the void. This leads to the final philosophical inversion. We think of death as the end of the self, but in a fragmenting universe, the self is the only thing that remains. As the galaxies move away, as the stars go out, as the light fails, you are left with nothing but your own consciousness. The universe is leaving you behind. Solitude is not a choice, it is a physical destiny. We are moving toward a state of perfect self-isolation, where the only reality is the observer, and there is nothing left to observe. This is the heat death of the soul. This changes everything about our existential tension. It is no longer about dying, it is about remaining. We fear the end, but we should fear the continuation. Imagine living in a universe that has finished everything else but has forgotten to delete you. You would be a point of being in an infinite empty dark with no light to see, no matter to touch, and no other to talk to. You would be the final record of a history that no longer exists. This is the philosophical dread of the beyond the universe. The void is not a peaceful sleep. It is a solitary confinement that lasts forever. What makes this unforgettable is the emotional permanence of the isolation. You can try to forget these truths, but the silence will always be there, waiting in the gaps between your thoughts. Every time you look at the stars, you will see the distance. Every time you feel a connection, you will see the lag. Every time you dream of the future, you will see the void. You have been unplugged from the comforting lie of togetherness. You are now a citizen of the fragmented cosmos. This is the final realization of the existential scale. The universe is disconnecting because connection was always an anomaly. We are the brief glowing error in an eternally dark and separated reality. Our desire to belong is a symptom of our local scale. On a cosmological scale, belonging has no meaning. There is only expansion, there is only isolation, there is only the void, and the void is growing. Eventually, every horizon becomes a boundary no signal can cross. Every word becomes too faint. Every light becomes too old. What remains is not a dramatic ending, but a final separation so complete that nothing is close enough to be called present anymore. The dark does not conquer the universe, it simply remains after everything else has moved away. The silence that follows the departure of the universe is not a void that waits to be filled. It is a finality that has already achieved its purpose. We have descended through the layers of the solar neighborhood, the galactic sprawl, and the cosmological horizon, only to find that the beyond the universe is not a location but a condition. It is the state of being completely and utterly severed. As we reach the final realization, the very concept of completion undergoes a terrifying inversion. We think of a story's end as a gathering of threads, a resolution that brings meaning to the struggle. But the conclusion of the cosmos is the ultimate unraveling. It is the moment when the last thread of causality snaps, leaving every particle, every moment, and every memory to drift in its own private, eternal nothingness. Reality does not conclude, it disintegrates. But the real problem begins when you realize that this disintegration is currently manifesting in your own perception of time. We have discussed the slowness of light and the expansion of the void, but consider the impossibility of real-time interaction as a psychological rot. Because the universe is structurally disconnected, you are a collection of sensory data that is always out of date. You are a historian of your own existence, never an active participant in a shared now. This changes everything about the value we place on experience. If every experience is isolated by the lag of physics, then sharing is merely a polite term for two people shouting across a canyon that is widening at the speed of light. The discovery is that there is no bridge. There was never a bridge. There was only the echo that made you believe the other side was closer than it truly was. This leads to something more disturbing, the philosophical dread of the final observer. Imagine the last conscious mind in the universe, billions of trillions of years from now. By this point, the expansion has moved all matter so far apart that the mind's own atoms are the only things left in its observable horizon. There are no stars to see, no background radiation to measure, no signals to receive. This mind is the ultimate victim of the universe's design. It possesses the capacity for thought, for curiosity, and for connection, but the universe has systematically removed every possible object for those faculties to engage with. It is a brain in a jar where the jar is the size of the infinite dark. This is the existential consequence of a reality that prioritizes isolation over complexity. It creates seekers and then deletes the found. What makes this unsettling is the sensory description of the universe's final state. We often hear of the heat death as a lukewarm soup of particles, but reframe it through the lens of structural disconnection. It is the perfection of distance. It is a state where every fundamental particle is so far from every other particle that they have exited each other's causal reality. The universe becomes a trillion universes, each consisting of a single, lonely particle. This is the logical conclusion of the expansion of space. The universe was born in a state of infinite togetherness, and it will end in a state of infinite separation. We are currently living in the messy, chaotic transition period between those two perfections. Our lives are the noise that occurs when the particles haven't yet reached their final, isolated coordinates. This changes everything about our discovery of dark energy. We see it as a force of nature, but it is actually the immune system of the vacuum. It is the mechanism by which the universe rejects the infection of matter and complexity. Matter wants to clump, to connect, and to form structures. Dark energy is the universe's way of ensuring those structures are temporary. It is the cosmic solvent that dissolves every bond. The revelation is that we are not the protagonists of the cosmos. We are a temporary clog in the machine of the void. The machine is now clearing itself, and we are being pushed toward the exit. The beyond the universe is the place where the cleaning is already finished. Consider the psychological meaning of silence one last time. We think of it as a lack of sound, but in the context of the death of connection, silence is the presence of the wall. It is the physical manifestation of the speed of light. Every time you look at the stars and feel that heavy, cold quiet, you are feeling the refusal of the universe to be a whole. You are feeling the structural disconnection that ensures you will never know the mind of a being on another world. The silence is not a question, it is a decree. It is the universe telling you that you are a local event with no universal significance. Your shouting into the dark is not a brave act of defiance. It is a symptom of your inability to grasp the scale of your own imprisonment. This leads to a recurring hammer phrase. The universe is a house where every room is moving away from the hallway. We are in the room, trying to keep the door open, but the hallway is stretching, and the doorframe is warping. Eventually, the room will be so far away that the hallway ceases to exist. There will be no outside. There will only be the room, and then the room itself will begin to stretch. This is the existential tension of the Big Rip, the realization that the isolation doesn't stop at the edge of the galaxy or the edge of the solar system. It reaches into your very cells. It reaches into your atoms. It reaches into the very fabric of yourself and pulls until there is no you left to be isolated. What makes this terrifying is the cinematic revelation of the death of light. We have always viewed light as a messenger of truth, but on a cosmological scale, light is the messenger of the past. It tells us about things that are already different, already further, and already gone. To look at the stars is to participate in a mass delusion of presence. We see a sky full of lights and think we are part of a vibrant reality, but we are actually just looking at the delayed data of a disappearing act. The reframe is that light is the scab over the wound of distance. It masks the fact that the universe is already fragmented. When the light finally red shifts into the infrared and vanishes, the scab will fall off, and we will be forced to look at the raw, bleeding dark of the true cosmos. This leads to something more disturbing, the possibility that the universe is unreachable rather than empty, as a final cruel irony. Imagine a universe teeming with life, with art, with suffering, and with joy, but every single instance of it is trapped in its own light-speed bubble. A billion first contacts that never happen, a billion galactic wars that no one else sees, a billion renaissances that leave no record. The universe is not a desert, it is a collection of locked safes, and the keys have been thrown into the expansion. To be alive in such a reality is to be a secret that will never be told. It is to be a meaning that will never be meant. This changes everything about our existential aftershock. We have spent this entire journey trying to see beyond the universe, thinking that there was some other to find, some higher truth to uncover. But the final revelation is that the beyond is simply the now of the isolation. The beyond is the realization that the wall is not out there, but everywhere. It is in the latency of your thoughts. It is in the vacuum of your atoms. It is in the slowness of light itself. We are not in the universe, we are divided by it. What makes this unforgettable is the emotional permanence of the void. You can turn off this screen, you can walk out into the sun, you can talk to a friend, but you will never be able to unsee the distance. You will feel the lag in every conversation. You will see the ghost in every light. You will hear the silence in every sound. The beyond the universe has rewritten your internal map. You no longer live in a world of connections. You live in a world of temporary proximities. You are a fragment that has realized its own fragmentation. Imagine the ending not as darkness arriving, but as everything capable of seeing the darkness slowly disappearing. It is the death of the observer. When the last light has red-shifted out of visibility, when the last star has burned through its fuel, when the last mind has succumbed to the entropy of thought, the universe will finally be perfect. It will be empty. It will be disconnected. It will be silent. And there will be no one left to notice the silence. The experiment will have achieved its final state. The error of complexity will have been corrected. Nothing arrives to reverse this. No hidden door opens beyond the horizon. No final law appears to rescue the light from its own exhaustion. There is only the math of distance, and the distance keeps winning. We are the losing side of a cosmic war against the vacuum. Every breath you take is a minor skirmish in a conflict that has already been decided. The expansion is the surrender of matter to the void. The final philosophical inversion is this: the isolation we fear is the only thing that makes us real. If we were connected to the whole, we would be dissolved into the whole. Our loneliness is our identity. To be one is to be gone. To be isolated is to exist. We should cherish the distance, for it is the only thing that keeps us from being nothing. But cherishing the distance is like loving the walls of your cell. It is a form of madness that only a disconnected being can understand. Look into the dark one last time, not as an emptiness waiting to be filled, but as the final shape of a universe that has been moving away from itself since the beginning. Every star is a temporary wound in the night. Every signal is a small act of resistance against a distance it cannot defeat. And every civilization, no matter how bright, no matter how advanced, eventually discovers the same truth. The universe does not need to be empty to be unreachable. It only needs to keep expanding, and it is.